Thank you. Okay, the planning board meeting in the town of Orangetown for November 12th is now in session. Please stand for the pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, first item is roll call. Thomas Warren, Chairman, here. Mr. Young, are you here?
Mr. Chairman, I just received a message from Mr. Young. He's trying to log in, so we might have to give him a minute. Oh, he said present.
Okay, Mr. Mandel.
Present.
Thank you. Mr. Sweeney.
Present.
Thank you. Mr. Dell.
Present.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Andrews.
Present.
Thank you, sir. Mr. McQuarrie.
Present.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Bond. Okay, I don't see Mr. Bond, but we do have a quorum, so there's no problem. Okay, the first item is the Borgson subdivision, PB 20-46. Who's going to handle that? Anybody?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
hi, I'm here, and should I just present it a little bit, or?
Yes, please.
Okay. Well, my name is Walter Arell. I'm the architect for this project, the Bergson residence, Bergson-Gluckstern residence. We appeared before the planning board at the September 9th meeting. We answered some questions, and then we made some revisions that were required by the board. In the interim, the project's been reviewed by Akabor and Habor and was approved. In the interim, we also requested that the house be moved 15 feet to the east, but essentially keeping all the other original site criteria the same. A revised site plan's included with your documents tonight. And just this week, we received letters from Bruce Peters and Ken DiGennaro from Brooker Engineering. They had some additional comments, and we're hoping to address them tonight as conditions for final approval.
Okay, thank you very much. Ms. Slavin, being they're moving the house 15 feet, do they have to make a new application?
I do not think so, Mr. Chairman. It's in compliance, and it really didn't change the site plan that dramatically from what you previously reviewed.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, let me go through the comments. Jane Slavin, November 2nd. They have one comment. Bruce Peters, November 10th. He has 6 comments. Okay, Booker Engineering, November 11th. The applicant has provided significant information to demonstrate that potential significant adverse impacts with respect to drainage can be mitigated. We therefore recommend that the Bergson site plan lot 3.1-2 be approved for drainage subject to the above project comments, and of which there are 3. Rockland County Drainage, November 2nd. They have 7. Okay, I have a letter, a note from a Kathleen Bezek. She's from the New York, New Jersey Trails Conference. And it says the Trails Conference has no objection to these plans. This letter was dated November 11th. I also have a letter dated November 6th from the New York State Parks and Recreation Historic Committee. It says, based on a review of the attached site plans, the drainage report, we do not foresee any significant impact to the park property. Okay, also dated November 12th, we have from Rockland County Highway. No comments at this time. And that's all. Cheryl, is there anything else?
No, there's nothing else, but I believe the letter that you said was from Rockland County Drainage is from Rockland County Planning.
Okay, wait a minute, let me go back.
7 comments.
Okay, you're right. Okay, I'm sorry. If I said drainage, I'm sorry. That is from Rockland County Planning, which is November 2nd, which has 7 comments. Thank you, Cheryl.
Correct.
Okay, I'm gonna open it up to the board. Is Mr. Young here yet? Okay, Mr. Mandel, questions or comments?
Yeah, just a couple. I see you corrected the plans, so it's 1 story with the loft, and the adjacent house is also just a guest house, no business to be conducted.
Yes.
Okay, I see you got a return from Palisades Parkway Commission, no objection. Have you received anything back from the Army Corps of Engineers or the Rockland County Department of Health as mentioned in the Rockland County Planning numbers 1 and 3?
As far as the Corps of Engineers, I think that's already been cleared up back when the subdivision was approved. And I think that was true in our preliminary meeting as well. I think that just keeps recurring from the Rockland County Planning Board, but I think that letter is basically the same as it was the last time, and I think almost all of those, if not all of those conditions have been already met.
Okay. And just one other thing, what was the rationale for moving the house to 15 feet to the east?
Primarily, it was because we're retaining so much of the woods that surround the house. By moving it to the east, it just gave a little bit more backyard. So that was essentially the reason.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Mr. Chairman,
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, Jay Greenwell.
Yes, Jay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I just wanted to address what Mr. Orwell said is absolutely correct. The Army Corps of Engineers had issued a jurisdictional letter in connection with the subdivision, and they also agreed to allow the disturbance as shown on this plot plan because it was part of the subdivision improvements for the sewer connection.
Okay, let
And
me
yes.
ask, let me ask you a question. By moving the house at 15 feet, is this going to encroach anything with with what the Corps of Engineers said?
No, absolutely not. And the County Health Department has already approved the sewer and the water connection for all the houses on the lots.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Sweeney.
Thank you. I have no additional comments this time.
Thank you very much. Mr. Dell?
Thank you, sir. They spent quite a bit of time on this. Looks like it's substantially improved since we first saw it some time ago. I'm glad that they added the notation that the area to the paved area, it looks like to the north and east of the other driveway is now marked as a pathway rather than being an actual area subject to vehicular transport. And other than that, I think moving it 15 feet is probably an improvement, and I wish them luck. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Andrews?
I have no additional comments right now.
Thank you, sir. Mr. McQuarrie?
Thank you, Chairman. Looks like a good plan. The only difference I see is that you took a little bit off the front to get more of a backyard, right? That's the only change really in the new project?
That's correct.
All right, and I see you moved it further away from the stone wall. It kind of makes sense to have a bigger backyard that way. In the beginning, you mentioned you wanted to address the broker engineering comments. Is that I don't think you got a chance to do that. And then that's the end of my comments.
Well, I guess just in the sense of, that they asked for some sort of specific things about notes and just a little more detail about the grading around the, basically some grading things. And the only thing I would say is that, basically just going to comply with that, essentially, change the note or, make a correction to a couple of notes and just provide a more fine-grained grading. Right now, the contours are actually the original contours from the subdivision, and they just wanted some clarification and basically clarification. And so we're just going to do what they suggested.
All
Okay,
right, thank you. Yeah, that would be all part of the conditional. All right,
okay,
thank you, Chairman.
thank you. Okay, thank you. Is Mr. Young here yet?
Mr. Chairman, he is calling in. I'm going to unmute him, and hopefully this
Okay.
works. He is
All right.
having some technical difficulties. Mr. Young, if you're there.
I am here. Can you hear me?
Okay.
Mr. Young, we're on the Borkson subdivision. Do you have any questions or comments on that?
No, I had my concerns with the 15-foot movement, but I think there'll be much less impervious surface. I have no other questions. I think it'll be a beautiful home.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, I'm gonna open it up to the public. Anybody from the public wish to speak, or any questions or comments on this application? Okay, one more time. Does anybody from the public wish to have any questions or comments on this application? Okay, hearing none, I ask for a motion to close the public session.
Motion to close the public session, Mr. Mandel.
Mr. Mandel makes a motion. Mr. Andrews seconds it. All in favor? Aye. Any opposition to it? Any opposition? No opposition? Okay, the public session is closed. I believe if we're gonna go with final on this, which is what it's listed for, we have to reaffirm CEQA. Okay, thank you, Rick. Okay, can I have a motion for neg deck?
Motion for neg deck.
Mr. Mandel makes a motion for neg deck. Do I have a second on that?
Mr. Chairman, you don't actually have to go through the entire secret analysis again. Just a vote on reaffirming secret will be sufficient.
Okay, do I have a motion on reaffirming CEQA?
Motion to reaffirm secret.
Okay, Mr. Mandel, do I have a second on that motion?
Young seconds.
Okay, Mr. Dell seconds. Okay, all in favor? Aye. Any
Aye.
opposition to it?
Mr. Chairman, that was Mr. Young that seconded.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Okay, so there's no opposition to that on reaffirming CEQA. Okay, fine. Okay, okay, can I have a motion for final with conditions?
Motion for final with conditions, Mr. Mandel.
Mr. Mandel, okay, and the conditions are Jane Slavin, November 2nd letter, 1. November 10th, 6. Booker Engineering, November 11th, 3. Rockland County Planning, November 2nd, 7. And we'll just make a note again, it's not a condition, that the New York State Trails Conference has no objection, and that the New York State Parks and Recreation have no objection. Okay, do I have a second?
I'll make that second.
Mr. Andrews seconds. Okay, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? No opposition. Okay, you got your final. Good luck.
Great. Thank you very much. Good night.
All right, next application is Dion's Way Site Plan PB 20-47. This is also in for a final.
Yes, Mr. Chair, on behalf of the applicant, Brian Quinn, I'm the attorney.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
We also have Jay Greenwell. We also have Tom Acton, who's the principal, and I believe we have Barry Tarak, who's the architect. We have our whole team here this evening.
Okay, fine. You just want to re-explain your project?
Yes, I will. It's been a little while since we last appeared before you. You get me twice in one night, though, tonight. I got another one later on. But this is a property in downtown Pearl River. It's actually the site of the Joyce Realty building on Franklin Avenue. The piece of property actually extends all the way over to Main Street so that it has frontage on both Franklin and Main Street. It's an existing one-story retail office building, just under, that's 8,800 square feet. The project involves adding 2 additional floors above the existing space. The lower will remain retail office. The above will be 2 stories to add 16 market rate rental units in accordance with the PAC zone. The units will be 1 or 2 bedroom units, moderately priced between 750 and 1,000 square feet. If you're at all familiar with the PAC zone, we did apply. We first appeared back to the town board, and in July of 2018, the town board approved the zone change. This was Community Shopping CS to the PAC, the Planned Adult Community. This will be only over 55 in age. We then proceeded to the planning board. We appeared before you on October 24, 2018. At that meeting, you closed the public hearing, declared yourself lead agency, adopted a negative declaration under SECRA, and referred us over to the ZBA. If you're familiar at all with the PAC zone, it is a little difficult to determine sometimes what you can do and what you can't do. But the PAC zone did allow the town board to make certain adoptions with respect to the bulk zoning, but not others. So we were directed to go to the ZBA for a few more, which was minimum lot area, maximum floor area ratio, and parking. And when we appeared before the ZBA, there were several people who spoke in support of the project. None opposed it, but the ZBA members were concerned about dealing with the variances under the PAC zone. Further discussion, the meeting was continued, further discussion was had with members of the town administration, the ZBA, town attorney's office, and it was suggested that we should go to the town board to amend the PAC zone to allow the town board to grant the additional bulk requirements for the site. So we did submit another petition to the town board. We appeared at a meeting, I believe it was November 12, 2019, public hearing. There were a couple of intro meetings before that, but at that public hearing, the town board adopted the amendment to the PAC zone, which allowed them to then grant the additional floor area ratio, lot area, and parking bulk requirements. We then further applied also to the town board to then superimpose the new PAC zone on what was already the existing PAC zone that they previously granted. We then went to the Architectural Review Board, and we also received approval from the Architectural Review Board. So having hit almost every board before this town, we're now back with you, and we're seeking final approval this evening. I'll let you read the correspondence, and perhaps then I could just respond to some of the comments, especially with respect to parking. And Jay Greenwell will also be stepping in with respect to some of the questions.
Okay, thank you very much. Let me go into the comments. James?
Tom, I just want to make sure you all received the Rockland County Planning Letter, which I emailed to everybody about 5 o'clock.
Cheryl, when did that go out? Because I don't have it.
Around 5 o'clock. I'll email it now again.
Okay, let me just look. 1 out of 5. No, I didn't, Cheryl, I didn't get it. I'm sorry. All right, let me go through and then we'll come up to that.
I'll email it again.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, Jane Slavin, November 2nd. She has one comment. Department of Environmental Management and Engineering, Bruce Peters, November 20th. He has 2. Rockland County Sewer District Number 1 has 1. Rockland County Highway Department has 1. Okay, I also have a letter from, I believe this is Rockland, yes, Rockland County Highway. And it says, I believe the town should be able to override my parking comments with the mitigation plan that they have in place now. They should be okay with me. This is Rockland County Highway. That was dated from October 21st. By
Mr. Chairman?
Diana.
If I
Yes.
may, just a
Okay.
brief explanation of that correspondence. The Highway Department had some concerns about the parking issue, and I wrote an email to Diane to explain that the town was getting the $60,000 fee, impact fee, and also the town had discussed in great detail about the accessibility to the parking lot owned by the town directly adjacent to this building, and the ability to get permits for overnight parking as well. And I emailed that information to the County Highway Department. That's what they're referring to when they say that the town should be able to override his issue about the parking. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. I just got from Cheryl from the Rockland County Department of Planning, dated November 12th, of which they have 10 comments.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
we would like to respectfully request an override on number 4. Number 4 correctly indicates that the parking lot is split into 2 lots, but they indicate that the westernmost parking space in the lot off of North William would be difficult to maneuver out of without a turnaround area. However, there is an easement to benefit this lot along the southerly border over the next door property, and that space would then be able to maneuver by backing out. So we provided a turnaround area for that space, which is an existing current condition. As well as number 5, they're asking for a relocation of the refuse area, but the access would not be from the handicap spaces to the west. It would be from the east, which is the current route that the garbage trucks take. They back down and pick up this site and adjacent site at the same spot. And there would be no interference with the parking lot or the parking spaces or the vehicles.
okay, thank you.
The rest of the conditions we have no comment about. We'll
Okay.
comply.
I'm gonna ask Ms. Slavin, when we get to the point, does she have any problems with either us overriding 4 and 5? If in case the board does decide to do that.
At this point, I don't have an issue.
Okay, thank you very much.
I did put it up on the screen in case the other members did not receive the letter.
Okay, have the other board members been able to read? When we get to that point, I will read it. Again, just to make sure, and I want to put it in the record. Okay, let me continue going on. I also have a letter from Jay Greenwell. And it says, Diana, it's to Cheryl, it says, we are in receipt of your 10-19 memo regarding Diana Ways with the specific referring to parking. Please note that during an exhaustive approval process for the town board, the town zoning board, and the town planning board, the parking on the site shall be thoroughly discussed. The town has assessed a $60,000 impact fee on the applicant to be used in to the development of parking plans addressing hamlet-wide parking issues. Additionally, the town has allowed the applicant and potential renters of the proposed apartments to purchase permits to park 24/7 in the underutilized town-owned parking lot directly adjacent to the project on the north side. With those elements in place, the town board and planning board have determined that the parking issue is resolved. Okay, thank you. Another letter from Rockland County Drainage, dated October 8th. This project is outside the Rockland County Drainage Agency jurisdiction. And that's all I have. Cheryl, anything else?
Did you read the Rockland County Sewer?
I think I did, but let me just check, please.
Okay.
Yes, Rockland County Sewer number 1, which is dated.
That's it.
Okay. Let me open it up to the board. Mr. Young, questions or comments? I think Mr. Young has technical issues. Okay, let me just move on. Mr. Mandel? Questions or comments?
I'm available.
Yes, do you have any questions or comments on this applicant?
Yes,
There we
exhaustive
go.
is
Hear me now?
a good way to describe Mr. Greenwell's comments. I thought this project was not going through. But it went through zoning board and passed?
Oh, yeah, okay. I'm sorry, Mr. Young. I guess it has.
Yep, well, do you want me to respond to that one?
Yeah, please.
Yeah, the PAC zone allows the town board to grant certain bulk variations. And when they preliminarily approved the PAC zone, they granted those. And we then went to planning board. You saw this back in October of 2018, granted preliminary approval. We went to the ZBA. Questions were then raised about the 3 additional items that the town board could not grant under the original PAC zone. Minimum floor area ratio, minimum lot area, maximum floor area ratio, and the number of parking spaces. When we went before the ZBA, there were questions that were raised. The meeting was continued. We then had discussion with, I met with the chair of the ZBA, met with other town officials, talked with the town attorney's office, and it was decided because of the confusing nature of the PAC zone as written, it was suggested that we go to the the town board to amend the PAC zone as it then existed to allow the town to do all of the requested bulk requirements. And we did that. We submitted a petition to amend the PAC zone before the town board. There was a public hearing held. The amendment of the PAC zone was granted, and the town then was allowed to grant the additional variances that they were not allowed to grant under the first PAC zone. And so it's been a little bit of a confusing and long process, but the town board has basically approved the site plan as submitted. Jay, did you want to add anything? Did I misstate anything there? It's not exactly the clearest of things, but
That's pretty much it.
Yeah. So, Mr. Young, to answer your question, it wasn't the ZBA that granted it. It was the town board under amended PAC zone that they approved back in, I think it was November of 2019.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Quinn. I appreciate the clarification.
Okay.
Sure, thank you.
Okay, Mr. Mandel.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. I'm looking at the plans and I have Rockland County's report here, looking at number 4 that Mr. Greenwald brought up. Where you look, there's one way in, you go and make a circle around, it's like a shape of a U and go out. So I don't know why they would ask for a turnaround area for Rockland County planning. So I'm definitely, we come to that, I would vote for the override on that. Regarding number 9, the water is a scarce resource. Have we gotten anything from, there's a letter from Public Water Supplier stamped signed by New York State licensed professional engineer shall be issued to the municipality certifying that there will be sufficient water supply during peak demand periods. Have you obtained that letter or authorization?
No, that would normally come after a final approval to get the letter from Suez.
That would be before the plans got signed off on then.
Correct.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. No further. Looks like a good plan to me. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much. Mr. Sweeney?
Thank you. I have no new question, just one comment. I think it was an oversight, but just for the record, you said it's between North Main Street and North Franklin. I believe it's between North Main Street and North William Street, this property,
Correct.
not Franklin.
I'm sorry, Mr. Sweeney, you are correct, yes.
Okay, that's my only comment at this time. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Dell?
Thank you, sir. Obviously, many of the concerns we've had were taken care of by the town board in its wisdom. It's an unusual lot. I wanted to know, first of all, what changes did Akabor make to the building? Any at all?
Barry, are you there?
Yep,
Our
I'm here. Barry Derrick, architect. No, they made no changes at all. They had complimentary comments, and we had a great meeting with them, and there were no changes.
Okay, because when I remember looking at it, the styles look a little disparate to me, but okay. Next question I have for you is this. You say you're going to allow the residents to have a rental agreement, basically, so they could do overnight parking. How much will that be?
Well, Mr. Dell, this question came up before the town board. There is parking at the site, but there was less than what was required under the PAC zone. This site is actually, and I think you're familiar with Pearl River, this is immediately adjacent to the theater that was converted to the PAC zone a couple of years ago, right on Central Avenue. So the two properties actually abut themselves. That particular project, is my recollection, is I don't think they had any parking there, but we do have some on-site parking. And if you continue down North William Street, going away from Central Avenue, immediately adjacent to this site is a town parking lot. And I've never seen that parking lot full. We did discuss this with members of the town board, the parking commission, and they said, we, the town, are able to provide permits for those people who would request a parking space. And, you know, they can be purchased on an annual basis, renewed annually. There's also a town parking lot across the street from this. It's the old, Peckman's liquor store. Behind that, there's more town parking. That is now, I think, a Mexican restaurant, Mary's, but there are additional spaces. And when we met with the town, they said, we don't have any issue. We can issue these permits if your residents want to purchase additional parking spaces.
Okay, you did everything except answer my question. I just wanted to know how much these permits would be. Do you have any idea?
Mr. Dell, I don't remember. It was pretty economical, as I recall, though. Jay, help me out here, but my recollection is PAC requires 1.5 spaces for each of the apartments. And so this would actually be, everybody, I think, gets one space. If they wanted another space, they would have to purchase it by purchasing a permit from the town. And Mr. Acton, who was the principal of Dion's Way, the town board requested that he make a contribution to the Pearl River Parking District, and that was agreed to. It was part of the approval resolution made by the town board. They'll be contributing $60,000 to the parking authority for future development of additional parking if it's needed in the downtown Pearl River area.
Again, you did everything except answer the question, but okay, probably no. I just wanted to make sure that it was not going to be an undue financial burden, a hidden cost to the people who would actually move in, because many of them may be in a fixed income situation, and then to have to pay a fairly high rate for additional parking should be something that should be brought out beforehand. So you're saying that it's not a great amount of money and it's done through the town. Is that really what I'm assuming, what you're saying?
Yeah, Jay, do you remember what the price was, or Tom Acton, do you remember what it was for the permit? By recollection, it was like $100 or $200 on an annual basis, or something less than that, wasn't it?
This is Tom Acton here. I was told from the town parking authority that it was approximately about $950 a year.
How much? I'm sorry, I couldn't hear.
$950 per year.
Oh, 950.
That's what I was told, yes.
Tom, are you sure about that? That seems a lot higher than I recall.
That's what I remember. I was told that when I went to the town.
Okay.
Approximately.
Mr. Dell, I apologize. That's the number, I guess.
Okay, because that's
It's $80 a month.
not cheap. All right, so I would like to see that clarified in form of a letter and put into the file. Could that be done? And we understand that it's not going to be a perpetuity number, but just the current rate. Would that be a problem?
Yes, you want a letter from the town saying what the annual cost is for a permit?
Yes, something in the file specifying that. That would not be problematic for you, would it?
No, I don't think so at all, Mr. Dell. We will request that.
I thank you very much. That's all, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Andrews.
I have nothing at this time unless somebody brings something up from the public, if there's any public interested in this application. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. McCory.
Thank you, Chairman. Just a couple of comments and a few questions. I know it looks like the reason you're having trouble with all the zoning prior is because, the pack wasn't really made for this kind of area. Single property spot zoned in a dense area. So I understand why all the zoning issues there, because it's a tough area to just throw a pack in the middle of, and that's the second one in the area now. But how many parking spots do we have there proposed?
There are 38 on site, which is pretty unusual for the middle of Pearl River.
Yeah, so and there's 16 apartments, and is that not enough for the apartments?
We think it is, but the concern is that the bulk table requirements end up being more because of the office and the retail component, but they're really not operating at the same time. However, again, this was discussed at length with the town board during the adoption of the PAC zoning, and the two elements that were mitigating that was the $60,000 impact fee and the parking availability next door. And again, if you break it down, it seems like a lot on a yearly basis, but it's really $80 a month, $20 a week to park your car. I mean,
That's if you need the additional lot.
That's if you need the
Right now,
additional
there's one
spot.
for every apartment. Did you hear that?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the last question.
Oh, I'm sorry. Right now, there's one spot available for every apartment, right? And then if you want an additional one, you pay the town?
Correct.
All right. Now, these permits are for everybody in town, right? Not just this building? Is this an ongoing thing that goes on in the town?
As far as I know, I don't know that permits are available for other uses for overnight parking. But I'm not sure. I would defer to Brian or Tom on that one.
I thought when we met with the town, they said that somebody can purchase a parking permit. It's not limited to the people that will be living in this project, no.
All right. I would like to see that clarified because, it doesn't seem right that a property that donates $60,000 gets special rights to park in town parking. I'd like to see that it's actually open to everybody in that area that will be affected by the additional 16 apartments. So if we can clarify that'd be good with me. Because, I'd like to see that open for everybody that's going to be affected by these, in another, development of PAC in that area. But that's it. I know Rockland Planning had an issue with the parking issue too, 60%. But, that's my own comment. Thanks for clearing that up.
Well, yeah, my understanding is those permits are available to anybody, not just the people that will be living in these units.
All right. There seems to be some questions about that. I'd like to see that, if the town can respond with that, or if the lawyer can say something, I don't know.
Well, again, there is a town parking lot immediately adjacent to this. There's also town parking across the street from this, behind the old Peckman's liquor store. There are also parking spaces on the street, both William and Main Street. Now, if you'd like,
You can't park overnight.
no, that's correct. But these permits would allow for overnight parking. And what I would anticipate is that the permits would probably be purchased from the lot immediately adjacent to this site, not across the street. But Mr. McCrory, Mr. Dell has asked for a letter clarifying what the annual fee is for one of these permits. And we could also ask that the town confirm that these permits are available to anybody in the town of Orangetown that would like to purchase them.
All right. Thank you. Yeah, thank you
Acceptable?
for clearing that up.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I think that's all from the board. I'm gonna open this up to the public. Anybody from the public wish to speak on this? Anybody from the public have any questions or comments on this application? One more time. Anybody from the public have any questions or comments on this application? All right, hearing none.
I don't see any, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. Okay, do I have a motion to close the public?
Motion to close public portion.
Mr. Mandel makes a motion to close the public. Do I have a second?
Andrew seconds.
Mr. Andrews seconds. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? No
Aye.
opposition. Okay. Being this is in for final, I think we should reaffirm CEQA. Do I have a motion to reaffirm CEQA?
Motion to reaffirm secret.
Mr. Mandel makes the motion to reaffirm CEQA. Do I have a second?
Andrew seconds.
Mr. Andrews seconds. Okay, all in favor? Aye. Any opposition? Okay, no opposition. Okay. Do I have a motion for final with conditions?
Motion for final with conditions.
Mr. Mandel, and the conditions are, Jane Slavin, November 2nd, has one. Department of Environmental Management and Engineering, Bruce Peters, November 10th, has two. Rockland County Planning, November 12th, has a total of 10. The applicant has asked that we override number 4. Number 4 reads, the parking area appears to be split into 2 lots. The westernmost parking space in the lot off of North William Street will be difficult to maneuver out of without turnaround area. A turnaround area must be provided to allow for the safe maneuvering of vehicles or the parking space relocated. Okay, do I have a motion to remove that as a condition?
Motion to override.
Mr. Mandel makes a motion to override.
State the reason though, Mr. Chairman. We have to
Excuse me?
state a reason. We have to state a reason for the override though.
Okay, Mr. Mandel, would you like to say what the override is? Your reason?
The reasoning is that it's a U-shaped parking lot with one way in, one way out. It's almost circular. There's no reason that you need a turnaround in there based upon looking at the plans.
Okay, thank you very much. Do I have a second on that?
Mr. Chairman, before you.
Yes, Jay, go ahead.
If I may, there's a misunderstanding. The space that the county referring to is not in the westerly parking lot. It's the westernmost space of the easterly parking lot.
Yeah, Jay, I'm just reading the way it's listed here.
Correct. It's the space at the very south. It's on the east side of where the refuse enclosure is. Jane, if you could just move your cursor to the spot west, to the left, right there. Stop there. It's a little bit to the right. That space right there.
Right.
That space that's the one they're referring to. And it's no more obstructed than any of the other spaces in the row of parking. And that space can back up straight to where the cursor is right now and then pull back out in the alleyway. As a joint alleyway that all of those vehicles accessing the property to the south and the spaces in that east lot.
Okay.
Again, this is an existing condition. The spaces are all being used now and it's functioned this way. That parking lot exists as depicted on this map. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. The reason why, Jay, I don't want to change their reading is the way they listed it is the way we would overrule it. I don't want to change their verbiage. Okay, but we all understand what you're saying, but I think if we go ahead and just overrule number 4 the way it's written, I don't think you have a problem.
No, he's not asking you to change it. He's saying Mr. Mandel's reason doesn't make any sense because it's the wrong spot. I think that the reasoning for the override is that there's an easement behind the spot, an alleyway that provides ample exit without a turnaround needed.
Thank you.
Okay, very good. Cheryl, do you have that?
Yes, I do.
Thank you very much. Okay, do I have a second on the override for number 4?
I'll second it, Mr. Mandel.
You made the motion, Mr. Mandel. You can't do both.
Well, no, Mr. Sweeney put the new wording in, so that will be
Okay.
him.
Okay, so we'll change it. Mr. Sweeney made the motion, and Mr. Mandel seconded it. All in favor, aye. Any opposed to overriding number 4? Okay, thank you. The applicant has also wished for us to override number 5, which reads, the refuse enclosure is located between the aforementioned parking spaces and the handicap parking spaces on the western lot. It will be difficult for sanitation workers to access the enclosure if the vehicles are parked in the spaces. The refuse enclosure must be relocated to an area that can be safely accessed by the sanitation workers and in which the flow of traffic is not impeded. Jay, you want to explain that?
Sure. Right now, the area that's circled on the screen, this whole area is accessed for the refuse for the adjacent property to the south right now. They back down that alleyway and then they pick up the garbage. So what we're trying to do is place the garbage enclosure for this project directly in the route that you just subscribed and just indicated as Jane with Jane's cursor there. So they would back down there the way they do now to pick up the refuse from the adjoining property to the south and then pull straight back out again. So they would not conflict with the handicapped space to the west.
So I'll make the motion for the override, and the reasoning is that the refuse pickup is not coming from the North Main Street side where the handicap spots are. The pickup is coming from the North William Street side instead.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, Mr. Sweeney makes the motion. Do I have a second?
Mr. Mandel
Chairman?
seconds.
Mr. Mandel seconds. Is there any question? Mr. Dell?
Yes. Since you have that situation, I don't recall, is there a chain link separating the handicapped area from the dumpster? I assume there is, or a wall or something there?
There's a curb. There's a curb there. There's an island curb that is adjacent to the, well, there's a shed now there at the moment, but that's going to be removed.
All right, could you use the cursor to point to where this is? I assume it's that little square area there? Yes.
That's correct, right there.
My concern is the handicap spot due west. Is there anything separating them from the dumpsters at all?
There's a picket fence and a curb.
Picket fence, okay. I think that should be chain link, but that's just one person's opinion. Because you want to make sure that it includes their car because they're disabled.
Yeah, I just hate the way chain link fences look around dumpsters, though. It's just,
Well, then you put slats in it, but what would you rather have if you had to park there every day? On your point, but that's my view on that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so that's done. Okay, Rockland County Sewer District, number 1, November
You didn't
10th,
take a vote.
has one. Oh,
You
yeah,
didn't take-
I'm sorry.
you didn't
Yes, okay, very good. Thank you very much. I'm getting ahead of myself. Okay, do we have a vote on, no, we have, yes, okay, all in favor of the change as the way Mr. Sweeney has said it? Say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No opposition, fine, okay, so you have that, the override on 4 and 5.
Thanks.
Okay. Okay, Rockland County Sewer District, number 1. 10th has 1. Rockland County Highway, October 19th has 1. And I think we've done everything else. Okay. So do I have a second?
Andrew
Second.
Okay, Mr. Andrews seconds. All in favor? Aye. Any oppositions? No oppositions. You got your final. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, next application is SMK Green Subdivision, PB 20-40. Compliance with condition 4 of PB 20-20. Is anybody here for that?
Yes, Donald Brenner, I am here representing the developer, and Jay Greenwell is here representing the survey and design. The board requested that we come back so they can look at the project after the zoning board saw it. The zoning board did see it and granted the variance, which is what requested. We are here just back to conform to the board's requirement.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
sorry to interrupt. Just as last time, I recused myself from this particular item.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Dell.
And just for the record, if anybody sees me drinking anything, I'll just let you know it is only diet root beer. Thank you very much.
I'm very disappointed in diet root beer. Ugh.
Chemicals.
Mine's coffee.
Okay.
Wink, wink.
Yeah, I got water. Okay, let me go through the comments. Department of Building, Zoning and Planning, Jane Slavin, November 2nd, has 1. Rockland County Environmental Management and Engineering, dated November 10th. After discussing with the applicant's representative, this department will allow this specific applicant to conduct their soil borings, perk test, and determinations of groundwater elevation within the next 3 weeks. Okay. There's another letter from the Department of Environmental Management and Engineering, November 10th, at which point they have 10 items, but the previous letter talks about, the number one, so that will be worked out, okay?
Yes.
Thank you, sir. Rockland County Planning, October 20th. They had 10. Rockland County Highway, dated October 19th. They have 4. Okay, now,
No objection.
Cheryl, I have another letter here. I don't know if this was read in, but I'm gonna read it in again anyway. It's from Office of Building, Zoning and Planning. Jane Slavin, is dated June 18th, of which there are 5 items on it. I don't know if that's been read in or not, but I just want to make sure we put it in again. And I have a letter from the Tapan Fire District dated November 11th. The Tapan Fire District requests for safety of the residents and emergency responders. The access drive serving 4 flag lot type lots is sufficiently long to deserve special construction consideration. It should be a minimum of 12 feet wide for the extra length and provide a branch or T turnaround area near the proposed residence. It needs to be designed so that a 212-foot wheelbase vehicle that is 35.5 inches in overall length can maneuver safely. This driveway has to be able to support 60,000-pound vehicle weight safely while causing no damage to the drive.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
with respect to this letter, we provide a 12-foot wide driveway. This property, by the way, is adjacent to the fire station, and there's a hydrant directly in front of the driveway in question. It would not be very difficult for any vehicle fighting a fire to either drag a hose down the driveway, which is not that long, or to drive in and then drive back. I think the idea of trying to provide a turnaround would be a fairly large area of macadam, but we will address this with Mr. Quinn. I just wanted to raise the issue that we would like to resolve this a different way than trying to provide a turnaround designed to turn a vehicle around, putting a cul-de-sac basically at the end of this driveway. But we will address this question with Mr. Quinn.
okay, you have to work it out with them.
We will do so.
Thank you very much. Okay, I have a letter from a Michelle McKendry, June 23rd, 2020. From Michelle and Joseph McKendry of 14 Berry Court. I have a letter from John McNamara, who lives at 38 Green Road. I have a letter from Janine Davis, June 22nd. I have a letter from a Margaret McNamara. She lives at 38 Green Road. I have a letter from, oh, I'm gonna get in so much trouble. LAXMISOLANKI. Couldn't get, if I spell it, I can't get it wrong. Okay, and that's all I have. Cheryl, is there anything else?
That's it.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Chairman, am I mistaken, or were those letters received prior to our preliminary approval? Preliminary approval was granted June 24th, and then we went to the ZBA September 16th. I think some of those letters may have referred to the objections that some of the residents had to the flagpole lot coming off of Green, and they were preferring, and I think the planning board did too, obviously, preferred the flagpole lot coming off of Western Highway.
Okay, Jay, I just want to get them in the record, just in case they were never received before. I just want to get them in.
Understood. Okay.
I think they were in the record for preliminary.
Okay, well, they're in again.
Okay.
Okay, I'm going to open it up to the board. Mr. Young?
No comments, Mr. Chairman.
Excuse me, I didn't hear you, Jay. Bill? I didn't hear
No
you.
comments.
Okay, thank you very
No
much.
comments.
Okay, Mr. Mandel. Mr. Mandel.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, a couple of
Comments?
questions. Yeah, a couple of questions. What's the distance between, because you brought up the driveway, Mr. Greenwald, which I also noticed, I was gonna ask you about. What's the distance between the edge of the driveway and the property line belonging to the Blowville, to the Tappan Fire Department's property?
Oh, the flagpole is 25 feet wide. The southerly, you're talking about the distance between the southerly property line and the parking lot?
Yeah,
I'd say it's about 10 feet.
okay. And the driveway to the property line on the south side, and the driveway itself to the property line?
Well, at 12 feet wide, centered in there, it would be another 5 feet.
All right. So it's almost, you're almost on top of each other.
Correct.
Yeah, I don't see why they put that comment in, but they did, so. Okay, DEME number 9, have you contacted the highway department yet regarding if sidewalks will be required on Green Road and Independence Avenue?
No, we only just got that letter, but, I would have thought that they would have mentioned it if they wanted it. There are sidewalks now on the westerly side of Green Road connecting all the residential areas there.
Right. Yeah, I was wondering, because I saw it there. They also talk about Rockland County Planning again. They're number 5, just bear with me on this. They're number 5, they talk about whether this is a, I think we had listed as an unlisted action.
That's correct.
Yeah, now,
The fact
Rockland
is-
County,
I'm sorry.
yeah, go ahead. No, go ahead.
The reason that we're back tonight is for 2 reasons. We had been advised that you, as the board, wanted to see this again because you had not had a chance to review it in great detail. The planning board also had listed this in the resolution as a type 1 action, but in fact, it requires Rockland County Health Department realty subdivision approval, even though there's no extension for a water main or a sewer main, because all the roadways around this have sufficient utilities in them. They have to review it for sewer and water provisions. And we have to go to the county health department after preliminary to get this, all this reviewed and answer question number 9 as well, or county planning board condition number 9. So we need you to, if you're amenable to it, to reaffirm seeker as a type 1 action, because you had listed it originally as an unlisted action. So it has to be noted that the Rockland County Health Department approval is required and it's a type 1 action.
Okay, all right, so we'd have to reaffirm, but change it when we get to seeker again.
Yes, please.
Okay, all right. And let me see. Oh, just I took a look at the I know it's the landscape plans now were just proposals until we finally get each lot done. But appreciate seeing the landscape plans look great on there, and it's a good basis upon which Akabor can comment and add if appropriate. But the only suggestion is when you do come back with the site plans themselves, at the end of each driveway, the turnarounds, if that turnaround is facing one of the other houses, you might want to consider placing some plantings at the end of that turnaround, just to stop the lights from hitting the adjacent property or home. Okay, so
That's a good point. Yep.
yeah, it doesn't show all the trees now, but you be coming back, but I figure you might as well bring it up now, so if you do come back, but I like the plans and I appreciate that, and thank you for that. Have you made a date yet for with DEME for the perk tests?
The applicant is on the call and has arranged with Fairway to provide the perk tests in the location as described by DEME within the next few days.
Okay, great.
One of the reasons that Bruce had agreed to it is because we've had a very rainy season just in the last few weeks.
That's for sure. Okay, thank you very much. At this time, no further questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Sweeney?
Thank you. At this time, I have no additional comments or questions.
Thank you very much. Okay, Mr. Andrews?
Yes, in reference to the landscape drawings, Jay, I went over these and they look pretty good. However, there are quite a bit of plantings in there that are not particularly deer resistant. Quite a few rhododendrons and some other plantings that I noticed, azaleas and everything. And the only reason why I'm mentioning is this is because Rockland County is just trying to deter deer in the area. It's one of the ways that we can manage it. And being this was a wooded area, there's probably a lot of deer in the area. So I would just suggest that you find some other plantings that are more deer resistant than what you have there.
Well, we can certainly make that suggestion to the landscape architect.
Yeah, Cornell Cooperative Extension has an extensive list of deer resistant plants, starting with the most resistant down to the least resistant. So he could take a look at that if he wishes to. And I believe that Akabor would probably have the same comments. That's all I have right now.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, Mr. McGorry?
Thank you, Chairman. I guess just from the beginning, I know I was always believed that there's probably fit 4 nice houses, but you know, they want to squeeze a 5th one in behind the other one. I'm always, you know, I don't like the look of that. But you got your zoning variances, and you move the driveway to the other side, so that definitely helps things out. But I'm still agree that the 4 houses would have been nice on this property, but developers like to squeeze every inch out of it. And I'm looking at, I got a lot of questions about the Pan Fire District letter. You know, how long is this driveway from the road to the house?
Well, the southerly leg of lot 3 is 123 feet, so it's probably another 30 feet. So it's about 150 feet from the sidewalk to the corner of the garage.
All right. Yeah, I mean, I just can't, I have experience in this, and I can't see any reason why a fire truck would drive up that driveway to the house. Like you said, the engine would be at the hydrant outside the driveway, and the access would be, you know, like anybody's driveway. Truck would park on the street and then bring everything they need up the driveway. But I just said that caught me by surprise. Like, I can't believe that asked for a fire truck to drive up to somebody's house that close.
I know,
But,
it caught us by surprise too, especially since the hydrant is right there directly at the point between the southeasterly corner of lot 3 and this driveway.
Yeah. All right. Just, yeah, I don't see a reason why this single family house should have a fire truck driving right out to it. Threw me off. But that's my comment. You know, I wish it was 4 houses there, and I know a lot of the neighbors mentioned that too. But it is what it is. So, all right, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, gonna open it up to the public. Anybody from the public wish to speak on this? Okay, anybody from the public wish to speak on this application? Okay, one more time. Anybody from the public wish to speak on this application? Okay, hearing none. Yeah, go ahead.
I don't see any, Mr. Chairman, but I just want to state for the record that per chapter 21-20E, that the money in lieu of land may be requested by the Orangetown Park Development Advisory Committee. So I just want to put that on the record. So when they come back for final, that may be a condition.
Okay, thank you. Okay,
I move the
okay,
public portion be closed.
okay, Mr. Andrews moves that the public be closed. Do I have a second?
Young seconds.
Mr. Young seconds. All in favor? Aye. Any opposition to the public being closed? Okay, none. Okay. So basically, we're not reaffirming, we have to do CEQA over again, if I'm not mistaken. So if that's the case, I'm gonna ask for a motion for lead agent.
Motion for lead agency.
This board is already lead agency. I think you're right, though. It does make sense to redo it, but you don't have to vote on lead agency. You are the lead agency.
Okay, okay, fine. Mr. Mandel, would you make a motion for a neg deck and to reaffirm the type 1 action?
Motion for neg deck and reaffirm type 1 action.
Thank you very much. Do I have a second?
Andrews
Young
seconds.
seconds.
Okay, Mr. Andrews was the first one in. Mr. Andrews second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, none. I just want to let you know that Mr. Dell has abstained on all of these votes, so put that in the record, please. Thank you. I mean, what else are we doing right now? I mean, we reaffirm CEQA. Are they in compliance with condition 4 of our decision? What is condition 4 that they're back for?
We were supposed to
If
reappear.
I may, Mr. Chairman, we need because we had to redo seeker, we need a new preliminary approval.
Okay, thank you. Okay, can I have a preliminary with conditions?
Motion for preliminary with conditions.
Mr. Mandel makes the motion, and the conditions are, Office of Building Zoning Management, Jane Slavin, November 2nd. 1, Department of Environmental Management and Engineering, November 10th. 1, second letter, Department of Environmental Management and Engineering, November 10th, has 10 items. Rockland County Planning, October 20th, 10 items. Okay, Rockland County Highway, October 19th. They have 4. I'm going to put this back in again. I don't know if it's needed or not, but the Office of Building, Zoning and Planning, Jane Slavin, June 18th. She has 5. We have a letter from the Board of Fire Commissioners, Tappan Fire District, dated November 11th. And then we have correspondence from Michelle McKindra, June 23rd. John McNamara, June 23rd. Janine Davis, June 22nd. Margaret McNamara, June 22nd. LOAXMI SOLANKI, June 22nd. And that's all I have. Do I have a second?
Young seconds.
Young seconds. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? No opposed. You got your preliminary, sir.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Okay, next item is the Orange Bank and Trust Site Plan, PB 20-49.
Yes, Mr. Chair. Again, on behalf of the applicant, Brian Quinn, I'm the attorney. We also have Jay Greenwell with us this evening. I believe we also have Mr. John Bartolotta, who is the president of the Rockland Division for Orange Bank and Trust. And I think we also may have our architect on this as well, too. Just briefly, this is a site. It's located at 374 South Middletown Road. It's currently a vacant former restaurant. It's across the street from the old Pfizer campus. It's a very commercial area. I believe there's a car wash and a gas station that's very close to this as well too. The bank is going to be leasing the site, converting it from a restaurant into a bank branch over there. We received preliminary approval from this planning board on May 27th of 2020. We went to the ZBA. There was a variance that was required, I believe, for the sign. That was approved on September 2nd, 2020. And we then also received an approval from Akabor also in September of 2020. So we are here this evening before you looking for final approval.
Okay, thank you very much. Let me go into the consultants' reports. Building, Zoning and Planning, Jane Slavin, November 2nd. She has 1. Department of Environmental Management and Engineering, Bruce Peters, November 10th, has 2. The Office of Redmond, Chief Fire Inspector, dated October 5th. They have 4 items. Rockland County Planning, October 16th, they have 6 items. Rockland County Highway, October 7th, they have. I have a letter from Rockland County Drainage dated October 8th. It says that the site reference in the subject above is outside the Rockland County Drainage Agency jurisdiction. Okay, and that's all I have. Cheryl, is there anything else?
That's it.
Thank you very much. Okay. I'm going to open up to the board. Mr. Young.
No comments, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much, sir. Mr. Mandel.
Yeah, just a question for Cheryl. Did we get a response back from Clarkstown?
We got a response back from Clarkstown at preliminary level, and they said it was left up to local determination.
Okay. Just a comment, the reduction in the width of the driveway entrance and exit, the increased landscaping area, in my opinion, really dramatically enhance the curb appeal and will make the whole area over there a lot better looking than what it currently is. So no further than that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Sweeney.
I have no further comments.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Dell, welcome back.
Thank you, sir. Yes, I believe it's an improvement from the last time we saw it. I'm fine with it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Andrews.
I'm good with it.
Thank you very much. Mr. McCory.
Thank you, Chairman. That looks a good plan. It makes the property better than it is now. I got no issues with it. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, I'm going to open it up to the public. Anybody from the public wish to speak on this project?
I see none, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. Okay, can I have a motion to close the public?
Motion to close public portion.
Mr. Mandel, do I have a second?
Andrew seconds.
Who said that? Mr. Andrews?
Andrew seconds.
Thank you very much. All in favor? Aye. Any opposition? No opposition. Public session is closed. Okay, so this is the final, so I think we have to reaffirm CEQA? Can I have a motion to reaffirm CEQA, please?
Motion to reaffirm CEQA.
Okay, Mr. Mandel makes a motion to reaffirm CEQA. Do I have a second?
Young seconds.
Mr. Andrews seconds. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
It was Mr. Young that seconded.
Excuse me?
It was Mr. Young that was the second.
Okay. Thank you very much. I'm sorry. Mr. Young, and there's no opposition to closing. Okay, final with conditions.
Motion for final with conditions.
Mr. Mandel. Okay. Jane Slate, who's making all that noise? Mr.
I
Quinn,
think
I
it might
think
be
you got your mic
Mr.
open.
Quinn. Mr. Quinn, I'm going to mute you for now.
I'm sorry. Yes, go ahead.
Thank you. Okay, Office of Building, Zoning and Planning, Jane Slavin, November 2nd. She has one. Department of Environmental Management, November 10th, has two. Michael Betterman, Chief Fire Inspector, has 4 items. Rockland County Planning, October 16th, they have 6 items. Rockland County Highway has 2. I have a letter October 8th from Rockland County Drainage, and that's it. Do I have a second?
McCrory, second.
Mr. McCory seconds. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None. Okay, you got it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next.
Thank
item.
you.
You're welcome. Next item is the Ebenezer Full Gospel Church Building Addition Site Plan, PB 20-50. Okay, is there anybody here from the church, please?
Jay Greenwell.
Okay, Jay.
Okay. You want a little brief introduction?
Please.
Thank you. This is a 15.5 acre piece of property lying in the R80 zone. It's on the frontage on Sunset Road, right at the bend. And years ago, back in 1999 and 1998, 99, the property was developed with a church and a parking area in accordance with an approved site plan that was prepared by Adler and Young. And the approved site plan actually depicted the westerly addition that we're showing now. And there you have the original approved plan in front of you. And the T part of it at the very westerly edge was never constructed. It was a multi-purpose area, but they didn't have the funds at the time, and due to budgetary constraints, the church was built and this area was left incomplete. At this time, they've amassed the funds that they need, and they've hired an architect, Mr. Osborne, to prepare plans for a multi-purpose gymnasium with a basement. Right now, the purpose of the basement would be for storage, but ultimately, the church would like to have classrooms for Sunday school teaching in the basement. I understand there's a question of whether or not that area counts or not towards the floor area, and Jane has issued a letter saying that it does, and we did not understand that to begin with, so we're going to have to address that. The site has a large area of DEC wetlands at the northeasterly portion of the property, and the buffer is shown on the property. The DEC has confirmed that on the site, and there will be no disturbance to the DEC wetlands or to the buffer proper. The original approvals that were obtained back at the turn of the century did not include the overflow parking that is shown to the northwest of the church. And what we're providing now is mitigating all of that macadam that was installed and showing underground storage to provide mitigation for the 100-year storm. That area that I'm just referring to, that macadam area, was actually installed to be an overflow parking, but also to be an important area where kids could play. That's right in that area that Jane is showing you now. And because of the fact that we would now be using that to satisfy some of the parking issues, we would like to get permission to install a grass playing field. And that's shown on the plan as well. We had determined that the provided floor area would be requiring 93 spaces. We have 101 spaces that are existing now, and based upon Jane Slavin's letter, we have to provide enough to meet the requirements for counting the basement area as part of the floor area, and we will need additional spaces that we're going to have to provide. So although we have drainage approval subject to conditions, and I don't think there are any other real issues with respect to the plan that's being presented, we're going to have to ask for continuations so that we can address additional spaces that may be required, or determine that we should go forward to ask for a variance for the providing the additional spaces. That's basically it, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, let me go through the consultants' reports. Department of Building, Zoning, and Planning, Jane Slavin, November 9th. She has 6 items. Department of Environmental Management and Engineering, November 10th. They have 15 items.
We do have, with respect to Bruce Peters' letter,
Yes, sir.
item 6, he talks
Yes, sir.
about considering reducing the size of the proposed grass playing fields. The size of the playing field that we're proposing is really not even the size of a soccer field. And basically what this is proposed for is for, kids to be accompanying their parents. Oftentimes the church would be utilized for a function of some sort, and kids will be playing around, and, providing a playing field is certainly making the church experience more enjoyable and more amenable to different age groups. So we'd like to be able to keep that size field. We are providing a substantial infiltration trench to address the modification of woods to grass, but it's not concrete. So we'll have to address that obviously with Bruce, but
Yeah, you're gonna have to work that out with him. I
Yes.
understand.
Tom is muted. You can't hear him.
Somehow I got muted. I'm very, very sorry. Where did we get left off at? Did, Cheryl, did you get it that I read in, Bruce Peters?
You're up to Bruce Peters.
Okay, I did that or not?
Yes, you did that.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Booker Engineering, let me get that little squirrely thing off of the thing over there and I won't get muted again. Okay, Booker Engineering, November 11th. The applicant has provided significant information to demonstrate the potential significant adverse impacts with respect to drainage can be mitigated. We therefore recommend an Ebenezer Full Gospel Church building additional site plan amendment be approved for drainage subject to the above project comments, of which there are 8.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
I just want to remind you of Jay Greenwell's comments at the beginning. They may require additional parking to meet the requirements of the additional floor area for the basement, which they have to provide those calculations. So the
That's
plan that
correct.
was approved for drainage may change.
That is correct. If we have to provide additional parking, what we would be doing is basically taking the model of the mitigation that's provided and expanding it. So the location would not change. It would just be a larger area of mitigation. Excuse me.
Jay, in your opening comments, you did request a continuance, right?
Yeah, we're going to have to ask for continuance because we haven't properly addressed the additional parking that you indicated would be necessary, or ask for a variance and leave everything the way it is, with the idea that we have more than we need and that the uses might not necessarily be occurring at the same time. But I need time to speak with the pastor and president of the church, and we need to make a decision about how to proceed, either to ask for a variance or to provide the spaces that you indicated would be additional.
Great, thank you for clarifying.
Okay, Jay, probably time frame, you'd probably be better off asking for a continuation. But let's go through this and then see what you want to do. Okay, Rockland County Department of Planning, October 16th. They have 10 items. Rockland County Drainage Agency, October 14th. The above referenced site has been determined to be within a jurisdiction of the Rockland County Drainage Authority. Therefore, a Stream Control Act permit from the Rockland County Drainage Authority is required in this site. And then it says the Rockland County Drainage Agency does not object to the planning board assuming responsibilities for lead agent for the purpose of this. Okay, Rockland County Sewer District Number 1, dated November 10th. They have 3 items, and number 3 has 1, 2, 3, 4 sub-items. And then I have a memo dated November 12th from the Orangetown ZBA, allowing planning board to act as lead agent. Another one from Rockland County Highway Department, allowing planning board to be lead agent. That one was dated also November 12th. November 12th, Rockland County Planning Department, allowing planning board to be lead agent. I have a letter from dated November 12th from Rockland County Highway. This project is out of the jurisdiction of this agency. Again, November 12th from Orangetown ZBA. No further correspondence for the site shall be sent to this agency. And that's all. Cheryl, is there anything else?
That's it.
Okay,
There's a letter.
sorry. I have one letter that I wasn't able to print it out, but let me read it. It says, to members of the planning board, I understand Ebenezer Baptist Church is wanting permission to clear trees, ball field and gym. I own a house at the top of Sunset Avenue in Blauvelt, so my home is relatively close by. But more importantly, I get my water from the reservoir that directly abuts the church. I'm very concerned about the environmental conditions that already exist at the reservoir, and that the church plans will be exasperated. In addition, the sheer size of the planning addition is frankly outrageous. The church and parking lot are already huge. Plans call for doubling the current footprint. That's too heavy an impact for this small, sensitive area. Over the summer, my husband and I took our kayak out on the Hackensack River and headed towards the reservoir. We couldn't paddle far at all because we were stopped by massive overgrowth of swamp plants. And we were horrified to look all around us and see hundreds of dead fish. I'm not exaggerating. The stench was incredible. Later in the season, we helped the turtles of Western Highway release baby turtles to the reservoir. The water level was incredibly low and the algae was prolific. Both of these conditions were much worse than in previous years. Suez needs to address these environmental issues in its reservoir. Obviously, but the church plans would also make the problems worse. Cutting down trees removes the natural filtration system. The church lands are on the downslope where the rainwater washes downward towards the reservoir. If in addition to cutting trees, the church also puts in a ball field that will require fertilizer. These chemicals will add to the already compromised ecosystem from which this community gets its drinking water. Thank you. Cheryl McNeil, 56 Old Western Highway, Blauvelt, New York. Okay, Cheryl, is there anything else?
That's all.
Thank you very much. I'm going to open it up to the board. Mr. Young?
Since it's coming back, I have no questions.
Thank you very much. Okay, Mr. Mandel?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Director Slavin, are there any outstanding violations for the areas that they built on in the past without permits?
No, violations were not issued. We were made aware when they made their application, so they're moving to, have compliance.
DME number 5, it mentions what the total area of disturbance is, and the EAF indicates at 0.98 acres. Now, does this include the areas where construction was conducted without a permit specifically? Is that included in that 0.98 acres, or was that added in or not added in?
Jay, can you clarify, please?
I'm pulling up my site plan now to answer that question. Give me a minute.
And again, Mr. Mandel, those numbers will most likely change based upon the need to calculate in the basement, which was not calculated in the parking requirement.
Right, so that would put them over a full acre, then they need a full stormwater.
Well, it may, and that's the reason, part of the reason for the continuation.
That's exactly right. We have to evaluate what additional parking is needed by the church and whether or not it would be appropriate to request a variance and or whether new parking spaces would be necessary to meet the demands of the church as well as the need for meeting the bulk requirements. And yes, a portion of the area of disturbances for the overflow macadam parking that was placed in there, but it was not included in the current disturbance because it's not a new disturbance per se. But you're right, it was not included in the area of disturbance.
Director Slavin, shouldn't that be included in the area of disturbance?
It absolutely should be. Well, and right, it should be, and they're going to have to come back to us with the revised numbers and address the parking calculations.
As well as possible stormwater.
Correct.
If possible, we'll try and stay underneath that 1 acre of disturbance, Mr. Mandel, but it's possible, you're correct, that we may end up being over if we have to include that and also have to add additional parking.
Yeah, because it'd be silly to come back if you're over and then go back and forth again.
Correct.
Okay. All right. I'm
But
not
again,
crazy about.
I just wanted to just address the comment that was raised by, I don't know the person's name, but the member of the public that wrote the letter. This project has to be reviewed as noted by the Rockland County Drainage Agency, the New York State DEC, the town's own Department of Environmental Management, and the town's drainage consultant, Brooker Engineering. And, like I said, we're going to have to ask for a continuation to address the comments that have been raised here. But again, this project is going to mitigate to a much greater degree any development that's gone on and will be required to address water quality, water quantity, and any runoff issues heading into the drinking water supply.
Okay. Now, the proposed plan that states there'd be a retaining wall to be built. I don't see anything in there about the dimensions, the height, the length of it.
The retaining wall is actually existing and it's being truncated at the proposed building.
No, Jay, the retaining wall at the proposed grass playfields, it's actually Yeah, it's actually one of my comments as well.
Oh, that's really just a laid up stone wall. It's no more than 3 feet high. Okay, we'll provide a detail on that.
Yeah, because it's overgrown. It looks like it's a stone wall that turns into a berm of some sort. That's what I'm looking at when I was there. Okay, just one last thing. Back in January 12th, the year 2000, condition 2 from the planning board decision called for a 50-foot setback adjacent to the Gillen property as a conservation easement. You know where that is on the current site plan?
Yes, it's shown at the southern side, southeasterly side, sort of nearly adjacent. That's it right there.
Oh, okay. All right. That's the Gillen property next to her. There wasn't a name there. Okay, thank you. No further questions.
One of the issues, I'm sorry, Jay, one of the issues that I brought up in my letter is this shed. That
Yeah, I don't know whose shed that is. I'll have to check into that. There's another series of encroachments to the north of that, at the bend on Sunset, where the neighbor put on a shed on the property. I'll have to find out from the owners. There you go. Yep, a little bit further to the northeast. Right there, right? Yep, there you go.
Yeah, it was not clear, obviously, who owns that, but this is straddling the property line as well as is built in the easement, so that has to be addressed.
Yep.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Sweeney?
Yes, thank you. I'll be brief, because since it is going for continuance, Mr. Mendel and Ms. Slavin addressed a lot of my comments, but I just want to repeat that, since there are some work that was done without approvals, I think that should really be further along and being rectified before it comes back. And I agree that the work that was done for the overflow parking area and the drive, that should be included in the disturbed area. We can't exclude it because it happened before, because it was never approved before, so it should be counted in the new disturbance calculations. Those are my only comments. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, Mr. Dell?
Yes, many of my comments were addressed by Mr. Sweeney, Mr. Mendel, and Ms. Slavin. I remember when this came in, I was part of the reviewing of it, and there was a great deal of care done to make sure that there was as little site disturbance as possible. And that's why the macadam area that was put in looks like without permit, if I'm reading this correctly, is a bit disturbing. But one thing that definitely has to be fixed is the existing access drive, excuse me, that's next to the proposed play fields. That obviously should be one way. I'm also questioning how it comes out into the middle of two existing parking spaces where it enters the main area. So that also would have to be addressed in addition to the other things. In terms of a location for the building, in terms of site disturbance, it probably is a pretty good one. There's not that many major trees that would be removed. In all fairness to the applicant, they're showing a lot of the lot to be, great deal of it to be undisturbed. However, there obviously are the concerns that we've been talking about. I think they need to be addressed, and I agree very strongly that any impervious areas that were added illegally or say without permits should certainly be calculated into the drainage figures. The other thing is just as a point of information, I believe that the water from the reservoir that's in this area is only used in New Jersey, and it basically is nothing more than a detention basin for the reservoirs in New Jersey, which is why many times it goes down low. So we have a mud pit while they have full reservoirs, which is another question. However, I would like to see the information because right now we really can't judge what's going on. So that's all my comments at this time, sir. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. Mr. Andrews?
Yeah, the only comment that I was gonna make was, I was wondering how many trees were gonna be taken down because of the comments made by the public person who wrote the letter, which I can't see that many trees are gonna be removed. So, that was the only concern that I had right now. Other than that, we'll wait until you, come back with the continuance. That's it.
Mr. McGorry?
Thank you, Chairman. The board addressed some of my concerns, but I definitely have concerns like Bruce Peters and the neighbors about the environmental impact of this development, along with the proposed grass play fields that are with all the immature trees are going to be taken down, so kids might be able to run around doing services. I don't see the need for that. I think it's more important to address the environmental concerns at this property. So if that grass area could be removed or really restricted, I'd have less concerns. So, but I know you're coming back, so hopefully you can address that because it is a environmental issue with me. It doesn't seem a need for it. The overflow parking lot also has a play area involved in it. So to take all those trees down for a chance that kids might be playing during services, I just don't see it with me right now. But I'm looking forward to the new plans when you come back.
Okay, thank you, sir. I'm going to open it up to the public. Anybody from the public wish to speak on this application?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, please state your name and your address, please.
My name is Vanessa Lappins. I live at 659 Western Highway in Blauvelt. I'm a member of Coupon Hamlets of Orangetown.
Okay, you have 3 minutes. Go ahead.
This is a densely wooded area that abuts the watershed for the Hackensack River, our drinking water supply. Any clearing of woods removes natural filtering opportunities, and secondly, introduces the chance of runoff from new fertilizer on the field, exacerbating the existing algae conditions that exist for Suez. Thirdly, a full-size gym that doubles the existing footprint of the church creates building density that is completely inappropriate for a residential area like this. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, is there anybody else in the public who wishes to speak on this application? Okay, one more time. Is there anybody from the public that wishes to speak on this application? Okay, hearing
I
none.
don't see any.
Excuse me?
I don't see any, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. Okay, can I have a
Motion
motion?
to close public portion, Mr.
Mr.
Chairman.
Chairman, before you close, may I just ask a question?
Sure.
And how does could I just ask the board how they would feel about putting some parking in reserve? Because I believe that in consulting with the pastor of the church, that the need for the parking is not going to be as great as the demand placed on it by the bulk requirements of the zone. So if we could show that we could add the parking if needed and show an area designated, for instance, between the existing parking lot and the conservation easement without going into the conservation easement, we could add about 20 spaces in there right off the existing macadam and come closer to satisfying, just to the left of the cursor there, right in that area there is already the macadam, and you could provide additional spaces. But to depict it rather than actually constructing it, and again, that would be no tree removal in that area either. Is that something that the board could consider?
All right, let me just ask the board. Mr. Young? Would you have any problem with that? Go ahead, sir.
No objection.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Mandel?
No objection to land banking in the parking spots.
Thank you very much. Mr. Sweeney?
I don't have a strong objection. I'd like to see it drawn up before I make a total decision, though.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Dell?
Again, like Mr. Sweeney, I'd like to see what exactly they're proposing, but it's the type of concept that generally I'm in favor of. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Andrews?
I'm good with that. That was a good suggestion.
Thank you very much. Mr. McCory?
Yeah, I don't have any concerns with that.
Okay. Jay, could you really draw something up on your plan so this way we can see it when you do come?
Absolutely. And I just want to say that I really appreciate you taking the time to read all the comments into the record and to get the feedback from the members of the public and the members of the board in particular, so that give us some good direction on what to do when we come back. Thank you very much.
Okay. I don't know, did we finally close the public session? I don't believe we did. I think the motion was made by Mr. Bandel, and I think I need a second to close.
I'll second
Mr.
the
Chairman?
close.
Okay,
Excuse
Mr.
me, Mr.
Andrews.
Chairman?
Yes, Mr. Dell.
Sorry to interrupt. I don't believe Mr. Greenwell did actually formally
I would like to
request.
request a formal continuance. Thank you.
Okay,
Yeah, but
thank you, sir.
I was not getting to that. We have to close the public session first. Then
I'm
once
sorry, sir.
session, then we can proceed. Okay, now let me go back to, do I have a second to close the public session? And I think it was Mr. Bruce.
Andrew seconds.
Okay, Jay, at this time, are you asking for a continuation?
I would formally request a continuation. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Sweeney, I saw your hand up. Can I ask you, do you have anything to say?
I was just voting to close. We never voted to close.
Okay, all right, I'm sorry, very good, okay. So we all voted to close and there was no objection. All right, thank you. Mr. Dell, you're messing me up over here. Okay, so
Sorry.
why, you got me out of order for a second, which I do on my own as it is, so I don't need help doing it.
Okay, but I'm gonna have
Jay-
to further mess it up and ask we take a 5-minute break between the next two items.
Okay, very good. Okay, Jay, you got your continuation. Be back in
Thanks very
5.
much. Have a great Thanksgiving, everyone.
You too, thank you.
You, Jay.
You too, Jay.
Thank you.
5-minute break.
Okay.
They never unmuted. They could hear what we have to say.
Okay, Mr. Cooper, please shut your microphone off.
I'm sorry.
No problem. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I think we need to give everybody maybe 2 more minutes.
Yeah, fine, because I think Mr. Mandel is not back yet.
Yeah, right. So I think 9:30 would be
Okay.
good.
As soon as he gets back. Mr. Mandel is back. Is everybody here? Let me go down the list. Mr. Young, are you here?
Present.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Mandel is here.
Present.
Here. Mr. Dell is here. Mr. Andrews is here. Where is Mr. Andrews? There you are. Thank you. Mr. McCoy is here. Okay, everybody's here. Okay, next application is PB 20-44, 700 Bradley Hill Road Site Improvement Plan.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. May we have permission to share a screen?
Ms. Slavin?
Nicole Vasquez of Onyx will be sharing her screen. We have a brief PowerPoint presentation, if we may.
Well, Ms. Slavin is in charge, so, of the screen, so it's up to her.
Okay,
She's got to give you authority to do it.
yes, thank you.
She might not be here yet.
Okay, we'll give that a minute. Yep, there we go. All right, so while Nicole is putting that up, I'll introduce myself. Good evening. My name is Seth Mandelbaum. I'm a partner with the law firm of McCullough, Goldberger, and Stout in White Plains. And we are the attorneys for Onyx Management Group, LLC. which is the manager of the former Bradley Corporate Park, which is now known as Hudson Crossing. We're very pleased to be here this evening regarding an application for site plan approval from this board for the re-tenanting of 700 Bradley Hill Road with associated parking on a portion of 800 Bradley Hill Road. As you can see up on your screen, we have a cover aerial, and then we'll give you a little bit of background information. If you could indulge us for a few minutes, we think we can perhaps frame some of the questions that the board or the public might have with our presentation, which looks like is not on the screen at the moment. And there it is. Okay.
Was that better? Okay.
Yes, thank you, Nicole. So just to introduce our team, if we can go to the next slide, please. From my associate Morgan Stanley is on the meeting as well. From Onyx Equities, which is the parent company of Onyx Management, we have Nicole Vasquez and Matt Flath. We have Franz Lockey of Sessi Consulting Engineers, the civil engineers. We have James DiBarbieri from the architectural office, as well as Ron Ryman, traffic engineering consultant. If we can go to the next slide, please. So here's just an overview of the Hudson Crossing development. The 700 and 800 Bradley Hill Road properties are highlighted in red. You can see just to the top of the page, going toward is the freight train that runs through the corporate park, and the two sites, 200 and 400 Ortani, where Amazon had their application before you earlier this year, is on the other side of the train tracks from the subject site. We were actually on your agenda a couple weeks ago for preliminary discussion, but on advice of staff, we adjourned this evening just to give ourselves a little bit more time to respond to the memos, primarily from Director Slavin and from Bruce Peters. And our engineers have been in contact with the town engineer for the last couple of weeks. Brooker Engineering was brought on board. I know, Mr. Chairman, you'll read through those comments in a moment. I've also been in touch with Rick Picola regarding the parking easement that will be in place between the two properties, as well as a proposed covenant as required by section 6.33 of the zoning ordinance to allow parking on an adjacent property within 1,000 feet. And Rick and I have discussed that, and he had one comment that we have incorporated. So I think those documents from a legal perspective should be all set. With that, I'd like to hand it over to Nicole Vasquez to briefly walk the board and the public through the proposal to reuse this existing warehouse building. And then, of course, we're happy to answer any questions the board or the public might have. So Nicole, if you wouldn't mind.
Thank you, Seth. Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, and members of the public. As Seth mentioned, we're before you tonight for two consecutive applications. One is 700 Bradley Hill Road, which you can see on my screen, is outlined in yellow. This is the first application we would like for you to review. We thought it was important to just highlight the proximity of, or the distance really, of the 700 Bradley building, where the prospective tenant, we'll discuss about in a minute, will be occupying space. As Seth mentioned, the CSX commercial rail line runs north to south, splitting the center Hudson Crossings basically in half, with the Amazon properties on the western side of the tracks and the subject properties on the eastern side. As you can see here, the 700 Bradley Hill Road, the closest R40 residential district is approximately 400 feet from the boundary line of the property to the west. To the south of the property, the closest R40 residential district is approximately 2,000 feet from the property, and to the east, about 1,200 feet. While I'm on this slide, I thought it would also be important just to highlight the public roadways that this tenant would be using. The tenant is United Parcel Service. As you can see here, the 700 and 800 Bradley building have access to Bradley Parkway and Route 303. Those are the two public roadways that will be accessible to the occupants of this building. I did highlight Western Highway on this aerial just for the purpose of stating that this building does not have access to Western Highway. That was a sensitive point and a point of concern, both from the board and the public with regard to the Amazon applications, because there is a direct access to Western Highway. And we just wanted to make sure to point out that that is not the case here. This building is back in the middle of the industrial park. Again, the two buildings before you for site plan review and approval are 700 and 800 Bradley. 700 Bradley's on the corner of Bradley Corporate Drive and Bradley Hill Road. There are two tenants currently occupying this building. In the southwestern corner of the building is Sinyan Motorsports, an automobile repair shop. They're an existing tenant with an exclusive parking area, as we highlighted here, or bordered in red. They are existing and will remain in place. The other tenant occupying this building is Oak Beverages. They will be vacating the building, but just to give you a bit of information on them, they currently use this facility as a warehouse and distribution facility. They currently split their operation between 700 Bradley and 800 Bradley Hill Road. Within this facility, within 700, they currently have about 10 employees working out of here. Once United Parcel Service or UPS occupies this building for the same use, there's no change in use. It will be a warehouse distribution facility. They will have a maximum of about 210 employees throughout all shifts. Just briefly touching on 800 Bradley, again, before you is a site plan application for site modifications. The building is currently occupied by Oak Beverages as well. They will be vacating this building as well. They currently use it as a warehouse distribution facility and have about 50 employees. Part of UPS's requirement was that they needed about 164 parking spaces. And in order for us to deliver that, we had to issue the owner of 700 Bradley a parking easement over part of the land currently owned by 800 Bradley. So as Seth mentioned before, we're in the process of documenting a declaration of covenant as a requirement by the town. And we're also going to file a parking and access easement once this application is fully reviewed and approved, both of which will be filed and recorded and will run with the land. As you can see here, the parking area and the parking lots for both of these buildings are long overdue for a maintenance round that they need paving, they need restriping, and that is a bulk of the application before you today. There is also a traffic study conducted by Mazer. It accounted for the traffic numbers for UPS at their peak operation, as well as the traffic numbers for Amazon. The results of that traffic study indicated that there are no adverse effects to current traffic patterns. Just to go over a bit of about UPS's operation. So this facility will be a small package delivery facility for UPS. They currently have a facility in Spring Valley, which currently services this area. They needed this secondary facility for overflow purposes to service the Blauvelt Orangetown area. They will also have a package drop-off location at this location for local businesses to drop off packages if they need to, which would be a good amenity for the businesses in Orangetown and Blauvelt. As mentioned before, there will be 210 employees at this location. That will be 210 new jobs. And they will be working on a 24/7 schedule with staggered shifts throughout the day. This is the proposed change plan for both the properties that we own. 700 Bradley, again, the restriping around the building is primarily the bulk of the changes that we're proposing. Same thing with 800 Bradley, all of the parking around the building. Outlined here in black and highlighted in gray is that parking easement area that we, as the owner of 800 Bradley, would be granting to the owner of 700 Bradley, which we also own currently. Also important to mention that there are no stormwater changes being proposed with this application. As I mentioned before, there are a few other items that we're proposing with the application. I'll show you those in the subsequent slides. So one of the changes is the removal of the surface mounted fuel tank. It is currently used by Oak Beverages. UPS does not have an on-site fueling requirement, which allows us to remove this tank. It would provide an area for additional parking and drive lane access. We're also removing this site access gate to add additional parking. We are proposing to remove this side rail extension that currently runs across Bradley Hill Road. On the southeast elevation of the property, there are 8 existing loading docks. These loading docks will remain and be used by UPS. All we're proposing to do here is enlarge them. This will be where the tractor trailers would back up into the building. Packages will be distributed throughout the building and be sorted into the brown UPS trucks that we're all used to seeing throughout our neighborhoods. So this won't change. It's just an enlargement of these loading dock openings. On this western elevation, no changes are proposed for the facade. Everything you see here in this photo will remain. The 2 overhead doors will remain, and that will be where the UPS box trucks would enter and exit the site. At grade, all we're proposing is paving changes to add parking. We are adding parking in some of the pervious areas here, which will then be added back in the parking lot area. On the northern elevation, we're just proposing to infill these 2 loading dock openings. We would match the facade to match the rest of the building. And here we're just proposing to remove this ramp to add parking spaces along this wall. And that is it. It's a fairly straightforward application. Seth, I don't know if you have any final comments for the board, but if not, then we can answer a few questions.
No, thank you, Nicole. That's our sort of overview. And I did mean to, it was in my letters, but this evening we are seeking referrals out to the necessary zoning board and ACABOR for their approvals. If the board is comfortable doing that at the end of the discussion, I always like to ask as many times as possible for the thing I'm trying to accomplish at the meeting. So with that, we're happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you very much. Let me read the consultant's comments. Office of Building, Zoning Administration Enforcement, Jane Slavin, November 9th. She has 5 items. Department of Environmental Management and Engineering, Town of Orangetown, November 10th. Bruce Peters, they have 6 items. Booker Engineering, November 10th. The applicant has provided significant information to demonstrate that there are no potential significant adverse impacts with respect to drainage that require mitigation. We therefore recommend that 700 Bradley Hill Road improvement site plan and 800 Bradley Hill Road improvement site plan be approved for drainage subject to the above, to no comments. Okay, and, okay, postpone, not heard, okay. Office of Building, Zoning and Planning, Jane Slavin, October 21st. She has 6 items. Department of Environmental Management and Engineering, Town of Orangetown, October 27th. Bruce Peters has 10 items. Rockland County Department of Planning, September 22nd. We are returning the enclosed application for UPS at Hudson Crossing at 700 Bradley Hills Road, Blauville, which is appearing before the planning board October 28th, which, because this parcel is outside our area of jurisdiction, and it is not within 500 feet of any state or county facilities. Rockland County Drainage, October 5th. The above referenced site is outside the jurisdiction of Rockland County Drainage Agency. Therefore, a Stream Control Act permit is not required. Also, it says that Rockland County Drainage Authority does not object to the planning board assuming responsibility of lead agent. Rockland County Sewer District Number 1, 2 comments. I have some correspondence from Kristen Lee, dated October 26. Her address is 4 Piper Court, Blauvelt. I have correspondence from dated October 28th from Rockland County Highway Department stating Orangetown Planning Board serve as lead agent. October 28th, Orangetown ZBA line Orangetown Planning Board be lead agent. October 28th, from Orangetown ZBA, no further correspondence for the site should be sent. Again, October 28th, from Rockland County Highway, no comment at this time. Okay. Carol, is there anything else?
That's it, Tom.
Thank you very much. Can I open it up to the board? Mr. Young?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Well, I visited the site, and the infrastructure for parking is definitely in need of some work there. However, I think Ms. Vasquez mentioned that a traffic study was not done, or can I get some clarification on that?
A traffic study was completed. Mazer Consulting completed the traffic study.
Did we see it, or were we supposed to see it?
It was attached as an exhibit to our memorandum in support that was filed with the initial application in September.
Okay.
You know what?
And lastly,
Mr. Young, can I interject just a second, please? I also have, it was another letter. A letter from McLaughlin, Goldsberg, and Strad, dated November 2nd. It's just a letter of application. I also have the short AF and also from SESI Consultant Engineers, October 30th. Okay, I think this is, no, that's the senior, that's just the explanation of the project. Cheryl, do I have a study? No, I don't have a study.
I gave it to everybody in their initial package when the plans were initially picked up.
Oh,
I have a copy.
I'm sorry about that. I don't have.
Cheryl, I think
I
you
stand
gave it
corrected.
to us- I think you gave it to us back when our last meeting was going to be, and they had discontinued it. I think it was in that package
It was.
a couple of weeks ago.
Yes. Yes, it was, with the initial plans.
Yes. I have it.
Okay. I stand corrected. I have it as well. I just found it in the other package. Okay, and lastly, I heard 700 is going to be UPS, 800 is going to be occupied by who?
Nicole, do you want to take that one, if you don't mind?
Sure. 700 will be occupied by UPS. Once Oak Beverages vacates 800 Bradley, the building will remain vacant until we find a new tenant. So no tenant, replacement tenant for 800 Bradley right now.
So Oak Beverage is leaving the facility completely.
Correct.
Thank you, that's all I had.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Mandel?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Some of the questions I have were already answered by the letters that were submitted by the applicant. You stated that your hours of operation are 24/7. Is that 7 days a week you're going to be operating out of there?
Correct. The tenant will be.
Now, you showed in your presentation that the trucks that are going to be doing the deliveries will be pulling into the building. They're going to be loaded inside the building and then exiting from that building. Is that correct?
That's correct. And just to expand on your prior question, Oak Beverages, who currently occupies the building, they also operate on a 24/7 basis. And yes, so they will, tractor trailers will back up into the loading docks. There will be UPS box trucks inside of the building, set up against conveyor belt systems where packages will then be sorted into those box trucks, and then they would exit out of the building.
Since they'll be running in the building, what type of air purification system will be used? For health concerns of the employees inside the building, since trucks will be running in there.
Sure. We will be installing HVAC systems that will, they will do air changes every hour, which is UPS's spec. So that will be how we would mitigate any, fumes from the vehicles being inside the building. But they would drive in and be turned off until they exit the building. We also have our architect on the line, if you have any additional questions.
All right, regarding the traffic study. Let's pull it up here. Looking at it on the traffic study, the table 1, the anticipated generated traffic volumes. The total for commercial vehicles entering would be 110 a day, exiting 102. That's the same vehicles going in and out, or these different vehicles? Because they give you a total here of 212. Is that just the trips in and out? How many vehicles will be entering? How many vehicles a day are going in and out of the building?
So our traffic consultant, Ron Ryman, is on the line from Mazer Consulting. I learned a long time ago, don't try to answer traffic questions. Let the engineers do it. So I'll let Ron take that one.
Thanks, Seth. Again, Ron Riemann. I'm a traffic engineer, project manager with Mazer Consulting. Our traffic study included data that was provided by UPS. So, it's always good to start off with a project with empirical data instead of, generic, warehouse or distribution center rates. But to answer your question, the 110 entering would be the same 110, or in this case, 102 exiting. So it's a total of 212, but that's double trips, 100 in, 100 out, basically.
Okay, that's over a 24-hour
Yes.
basis.
Correct.
Okay.
And one of the,
All right.
good things about this type of use and their operation is it is distributed over, a 24-hour period. And in this case, especially during the PM highway hour, when there's more traffic along Route 303, the facility isn't going to be generating, much truck traffic in and out that time. So that's a positive. It's like, quote, off-peak hours.
Okay. Regarding the commercial vehicles that'll be backing into the loading docks, what hours of the day are they going to be operating? Because you have those trucks, when they back up, you hear a beep, 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 beep. I don't know how far the sound carries, but I was wondering what the tractor trailers, what hours of operation, do you know?
Nicole?
Nicole, can you address that one?
Sure. So the information we got from UPS is that the tractor trailers would come in to the site twice per day for their AM sort, which is around 4:30 in the morning, 5 a.m., and then their PM sort, which starts at approximately 6 p.m., 6:30 p.m.
And you're gonna have another 223 trips. That would be it's 440 trips. That'd be the passenger vehicles. That would be that the employees we're talking about, or are we talking about other than the employees going in and out?
That's the employee trips.
Employee trips. Okay. So you said there was going to be 120 employees over the.
It's over a 24-hour period, though.
Yeah, but it's 120 employees and going in and out, that'd be 240 trips. I was wondering where the extra trips come from.
Ron, are you clear on the question, Ron?
No, I think, okay, and maybe Nicole could, confirm this with me. The number of employees that we showed on figure presentation 4 or 5 said 210 employees. Is that correct?
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, that answered. My error.
Yes.
Read it backwards.
No problem.
No problem.
Sorry about that.
I thought you were just testing me.
Okay, nothing further at this time. Wait to see if there's any public comment. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Sweeney.
Thank you. I'm not going to ask a lot right now. I just want to refer to one thing, and Jane Slavin's comment number 1 about the proposed new parking areas being in the front and side yards where that's not permitted. So what is the plan for that process of getting those lots approved?
My understanding is that can be approved by this board as part of the site plan process. And that is part of the overall application to this board. But I'll defer to Jane just to make sure I properly stated her comment.
That is correct. The planning board can grant that approval during site plan review.
So this is not something, sorry, Jane.
It's okay, no problems. And I just want to remind the board that, this is a complex. So it's not really fronting on a public street. It's not abutting a residential neighborhood. The codes still apply. However, take into consideration that this is a campus setup, whereas, it's a multiple building campus setup.
Got it. So this change would not have to go through the zoning board. It's not a variance. It's just something that we could choose to approve.
The planning board does have the authority to approve it. That's correct.
Okay, great. Thank you for that clarification. That's all I have at this time.
Thank you very much. Mr. Dell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, a number of questions. I would certainly agree with Ms. Slavin's last statement. about this being a de facto campus setting. So a lot of the constrictions that might normally apply to it may not apply in this situation. However, having some troubles with the information presented with the traffic report. You say 110 are entering every day and 102 are exiting. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
All right, so I assume then you're trying to establish a parking lot filled with vehicles that you're going to sell? Because every day you're leaving 8 behind, unless I'm misunderstanding something.
No, yeah, I'm sure there's, some overlap, it's 24-hour period, from, any kind of parking count or traffic count, going from, 11 o'clock to 12 o'clock and that change from 12 to 1, there could be like that one addition that's missed. So it does balance off at the end. So, if the numbers are within 10, I'm sorry?
I understand. Okay, I understand which, but still the disparity in numbers is just a little unusual.
Right. I'm sure, there are some cars, like I said, when you do empirical data like this and you do like a 24-hour count, there is a little bit of overlap. And yes, these tables were provided from UPS, and we could have went to the trouble of balancing it maybe a little better for them. But again, when you're doing an analysis, the traffic is more than accounted for. And one thing I'll just point out to the board, if you don't mind, give me another minute or two. We can't overlook one thing that our study didn't take into consideration, because we like to do our traffic studies conservatively. And again, we're using data from UPS. If you reoccupy this site as light industrial or distribution center, there would be a net difference, wouldn't be that great. So for example, if you just indulge me for one more second, if we took the 3 buildings that are being, reoccupied, from Oak Beverage, if it was reoccupied just for like light industrial use, just based on IT data, in the morning, you'd be looking at 86 total cars. That's in and out. UPS will be generating 125, basically the same number. In the PM, during the critical peak hour, which is like 5 to 6 o'clock at night, a typical distribution center, light industrial center would generate 77 cars in the PM. During the peak hour, which I mentioned earlier, the UPS was only generating 39 cars, so a little bit less. So you can't look at it as being all new traffic. If the 3 buildings, the 3 parcels were reoccupied, you'd be generating traffic, as of now.
Ron, I think you meant to say 2, the number of buildings.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Number, I was talking about the 700 lot. I guess the way it was, presented to me was
700 and 800.
There's 4 units in the 700 building, one being kept by Motorsports, and when I said reference 3, that's what I was getting at.
Sorry, thank you for clarifying.
Okay, now, looking at this, again, I still have some questions. Does this traffic study take into account the new burden on the road from Amazon?
Yes. One of the pluses, back in December, we, Mazer Consulting, did the traffic study for Amazon. That was based on traffic counts that were conducted in November 2019. And again, things sometimes work out well for everybody all around when this development came on board during a period where we really can't count because of COVID, and we're able to use data from the Amazon report, and the board has seen that report. So yes, the study uses the traffic volumes from Amazon. As Nicole mentioned earlier, we included the Amazon traffic as part of our noble condition. And then on top of that, we included UPS in our build condition. And the conclusion of the report with the traffic that's coming out of Bradley Hill Road to Route 303 there'll be no significant change in levels of service at the signalized intersection. And one thing the board is probably aware of, as part of an improvement for the Amazon parcel, the Bradley Hill Road approach was widened to 2 lanes to give some additional capacity. And as part of that approval also, the DOT requested a modem, which would help in the future to regulate, any timings as necessary as traffic conditions change.
Okay. Now, it's probably obvious, but I want to make sure it's stated for the record that there will be no employee or trucking entrance or exits from Western Highway. Is that true?
As I'll answer that, yes. Nicole stated that earlier. Yes, that's true. All the traffic will be coming
I want to
through
make sure that's clearly established, so we don't hear later on, well, it's only employees or whatever. Okay, next thing I got here is that you're obviously changing the nature of the business, even though the function is to be the same. I assume that UPS is going to handle more traffic than, let's say, a beverage center. That being said, I would insist, as one member, that oil separators be placed in all the existing catch basins on this site to keep any problems from happening. Because you're going to have a lot more trucks in and out of here. And we had Amazon do the same thing. I don't think it's fair that we give you an exemption from that particular consideration. So the other board members will have their own views on it. I understand that. But it's very important, I think, that we have that in there. Another thing is, are you going to have the trailers from these larger trucks stored on site, or are they coming in and out every day?
No, there will not be any trailer storage on site.
Okay, there'll be no trailer storage on site. We've already talked about the hours of operation, and all the loading and unloading will be inside the building. And I assume you're going to try to reduce the idling time to keep the people inside the building safe. My concern then with all this idling is anything going to be done, proposed to be done, to protect the air quality of people in the area? Or are you just going to take what you have and, to use Ronald Reagan's aphorism, the solution to pollution solution? Because already we have Amazon coming in here, and with this now, it may become burdensome. So I want to know what sort of air quality monitoring, et cetera, you're proposing to keep this from being a problem, and maybe might you want to consider some sort of scrubber system, et cetera.
I think we hear the comment. I think we're going to have to take a look at those items with our engineers before we can answer that question.
Okay, final thing. I know Mr. Collins, we've worked with him for years, et cetera. And I know he's saying take both of these things into account, and they are supposedly taking into account COVID. But at this point with this second operation, I would not feel at all comfortable about moving this along unless we had our consultant, a traffic consultant of our own, just review the figures and make us a little bit more comfortable with it. Because I think the community will not be pleased unless we go through that extra amount of effort. That's one person's opinion. And final thing, do you have any letter from the state, New York State DOT about how they're reacting to all of this new traffic coming out on Route 303? I didn't see anything. Maybe I missed it.
As far as DOT, I have not seen a letter on this project either. But as was noted earlier, they did require widening and signalization improvements at the intersection of Bradley Hill Road and 303. And we just received confirmation back from DOT that that was satisfactory. And that we can provide that documentation if required to staff. As far as your comment about your consultant reviewing the traffic, I would ask the board to consider making that a condition of preliminary so we can at least move along to the zoning board in Akabor, knowing we'll have to come back to you for final.
Seth, would you like me to jump in on that one real quick?
You mean the traffic engineer? Sure.
Yes, great. So, Mr. Dell, if I understand your question correctly, you're concerned about current conditions with COVID, is that correct?
Well, that and also to everything else that's going on. I would just like to have another pair of eyes on it.
Okay.
I use that as an example. You also
Yes.
have something a little nebulous with the numbers we're talking coming in and out. There's going to be a change of use, which we don't really know how many, I didn't see any
If you
studies
just-
of how much is being used. I just want another pair of eyes on it. And I think you would get less community concern if you were to follow that. That's my view.
Okay, I just, if you just don't mind, I could clarify something. Hopefully I was clear. Maybe I wasn't as clear the first time. So yes, because we did a traffic study previously for Amazon, December of 2019, and our traffic counts were conducted, which were reviewed by the town, New York State DOT, from November 2019. Even though we did a traffic study in August for the UPS, I just want to make it clear to the board and the public that the traffic counts, our base traffic counts, were the same counts that were used for Amazon that were conducted pre-COVID in November of 2019. As I mentioned, sometimes things work out well for everyone all around, that we actually had great data, approved data, moving forward the second, parcel. So I just want to make it clear that the traffic volumes, and as far as DOT, their involved agency, their review will look at the same exact volumes that we did, previously. I'll just make a little side note. You said you've been working with John Collins for many years. I have the pleasure of working for John for 35 years, so I'm with you.
Okay.
on that one.
Well, I
Thank
just
you,
said
Ron.
I'm working with him as a member on the board.
Yes.
But I still see that. The other question I have is what happens during peak times, let's say during the Christmas rush. I didn't see anything mentioned of that in there, because both you and Amazon will obviously be having higher volumes during that time. Again,
We
another reason
yeah,
I'd like to see this looked at.
Yeah, I understand the question. I think, we'll take a look at that, but I think, I don't think it's going to change the fundamentals of the 24-hour nature with the shift spread out, where you're not going to be impacting peak road hours. But it's a fair question. And we understand what you're saying, but I don't believe it's going to change the nature of the overall impact that Ron looked at, which is at the peak AM and PM hours.
I understand that you believe that, and I might believe it, but again, I would like to see data and numbers, and that's why I would not be, as one member, in favor of this unless there was a provision for that type of additional review. I don't know how the other members feel. Obviously, everybody has their own viewpoint. But thank you very much. That's it for this time.
Thank you very much. Mr. Andrews?
Yeah, looking at the, your totals between 2021 and 2026, I noticed that you're not increasing the amount of traffic or trucking employees coming in and out of the vicinity. It's not that much. Passenger, I guess, passenger total 2021 is 422, and 5 years later it's 440. Commercial is only increased by approximately 1821, and the total is only going to be increased by 31. In lieu of today's environment, with the increasing amount of online shopping and Amazon Prime and UPS making more deliveries. More stores are closing, so people are gonna depend on more deliveries. It's hard to believe that in 5 years, it's only gonna increase by that small amount. Can you answer how that was derived at? I mean, it doesn't look like there's gonna be many more people hired from UPS in those 5 years. Just was wondering how we got at those numbers.
Sure. So I don't know if you caught that when I previously mentioned that this location will be in addition to their existing Spring Valley location. So it would only be basically an overflow location for UPS. So that may be the reason for the smaller uptick in counts and in employee parking requirements.
And to that point, out of my own curiosity, I compared the square footage of the Amazon facility versus the square footage of this facility. I knew the scope of this facility was definitely smaller. And Amazon, with that addition between the two buildings, it's about 200,000 square feet, and this one's about 92,000 square feet. And there are less vehicles as well for UPS because, as Nicole said, it's an overflow. It's not a bigger distribution facility like the Amazon one is on Oratani.
But I was just wondering why UPS wouldn't increase their delivery capacity over a 5-year period with such a small increase, you know, in lieu of what's going on in the world today with multiple deliveries.
Yeah, those are the numbers they UPS provided to us. We asked them, we told them this is going to be the basis of our study, and please provide us your maximum potential numbers, and that's what they provided, as I understand it. Correct, Nicole?
Correct.
Okay, that's all I have right now until after the public portion. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. McCory.
Thank you, Chairman. Just a couple of comments I've been jotting down. I know we just confirmed that 700, 800 Bradley Hill will not be using Western Highway, but while we have Onyx Management on here, I know we dealt with it with Amazon that no properties will be using Western Highway because that's a gated exit and entrance. Am I correct? For Onyx Management?
Nicole?
Sorry, I meant to turn on my mic and I turned on my camera. So 200 and 400 are tiny, the buildings that are occupied by Amazon, and anything before that will not be using Western Highway. But there are two buildings that currently use Western Highway. That's really their only access to a public road, and that's 875 and 877 Western, which has been the condition forever since those buildings have been built. But no one beyond those points will be using Western Highway because we just locked that access road.
All right, yeah, that's what I was getting at. There's a locked access there that nobody else can use to access. All right, just want to clarify that.
Correct.
Because I know 700, 800 won't be using it, but just to be on record, no properties will be using that. And future tenant of 800 Bradley, that's nobody knows who that would be, right?
We do not, unless you have someone for us, we don't.
I don't. So it'd be tough to make a decision tonight on 800 Bradley. I know we're kind of taking them both together, but I don't know if we're supposed to separate these two properties in our decision making. I think that's something we might have to talk about. As far as traffic, it always seems to conclude that there's no adverse effects. Now I'm not disparaging any traffic reports, but UPS and Amazon all moving into that area, it's hard to believe that there'll be no adverse effects. And anytime there's questions, we always like to get another set of eyes on it. I think Mr. Dell pointed out that it's not a bad idea to have an independent traffic consultant to kind of clarify all these questions that we have and the neighbors might have, because it is hard to believe that all these new trucks coming in and leaving are not going to have an adverse effect. So, in my last comment, which we were here with Amazon, and they worked with the neighbors, they worked with the boards, and we got the plan right. And we also mentioned, Mr. Dell brought up, and I seconded it last time, about the oil separators. It's a good idea. It's not that hard to do, and it makes the property better for the neighbors and everybody else. And I think that's it. I just had a couple of comments, and that's all. Looking forward to see what the public has to say.
Thank you, Mr. McCory. Okay, I'm going to open it up to the public. Anybody in the public wish to make any questions or comments on this application?
Hi, everybody. This is Vanessa Lappins again at 659 Western Highway in Blauville. I'd like to encourage the board to look at all of the air pollution that might be generated now in its entirety and come up with a plan for helping the tenants move to a more emissions-free posture. Take the property, as it's in entirety. I think Artani has been a good neighbor, working with everyone, and I'm sure we can come to some sort of conclusions that are good for the neighborhood, and the oil separators would also be a great idea.
Thank you very much. Anybody else in the public wish to any comment on this application? One more time. Anybody else from the public wish to make any questions or comments on this application? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to close the public.
Motion to close the public portion, Mr. Mandel.
Mr. Mandel makes a motion to close the public session. Do I have a second? Mr. McCoy makes a second. Okay. All in favor? Aye. Is there any opposition? Okay, no opposition. The public session is closed.
Mr. Chairman.
What do you want to move? Let them move on. Preliminary on this. Conditions.
Mr. Chairman, I have another question for them.
Yeah, go ahead, Mr. Mandel.
Okay. When you talked about, going back to the traffic study, you said you used the same numbers as you used for the Amazon.
Is anyone else getting that feedback from Mr. Mandel? I can't hear.
Yeah, your voice is garbled, Mr. Mandel.
Okay. Any better now?
No, it's worse.
What about now? Hello?
No.
Type into the chat.
They try it again. How's it now?
No, that's still pretty bad. Do you want to try going up to chat? I think you can chat with Ms. Slavin, or I don't know how it works. You can do that.
I can't hear you now.
Oh, I'm on.
Okay. Oh, somebody's calling me. Hold on. If you can put me on speaker, maybe that would work.
Mr. Mandel, shut yourself. Yeah, that's better.
Okay, I have Mr. Mandel here on speaker.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, can you hear me now?
No, I very low. Jane, can you relay it?
Okay, he's
Yeah,
not
hold on.
coming. He didn't call me. He called.
Mr. Dell, shut your microphone off, please. Thank you.
No, Mr. Chairman, it appears that Mr. Dell has
Oh, okay.
Mr. Mandel on his phone, and he's trying to feed it through his speaker on his computer. I'm not.
Okay,
I don't understand. Yeah, Mr. Mandel's speakers were working. His microphone was working fine. I'm not sure what went wrong there. It was fine the whole time.
Any better now or still out?
No, that's perfect.
That's perfect.
I
Don't
turned it
touch-
on and off. Okay. The question was, you talked about the traffic study before, and you said that you used the same figures that you used for the Amazon project. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. When you did the UPS study, did you add the number of trips that Amazon makes to the total figures before you came up
Yes.
with? Okay,
Yes.
all right.
So I'll just do it real quick. So we use the existing traffic volumes pre-COVID as our existing conditions. Our noble condition includes normal traffic growth as well as the Amazon traffic. And then our build condition includes the UPS numbers, correct?
Oh, okay, thank you. Appreciate it.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman, may I ask a question?
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you, I appreciate it. So I think there was a comment a few minutes ago regarding the 800 Bradley Hill Road property. And I just want to clarify, I know they were two separate applications on the agenda because they're two separate properties in different ownership entities that are all part of Onyx. They're all in different LLCs. But the only part of 800 that is part of this application or this project is the small parking area that will be subject to an easement in favor of the 700 property. There'll be plenty of parking left on the 800 property for whatever the future tenant turns out to be. And without those parking spaces on 800, we can't honor our lease agreement with UPS. So it's really part and parcel of the overall project, even though it's treated separately on the agenda because they're technically two different tax lots. So I know you didn't read in the comments yet for 800, for example, which are very similar to the comments for 700. But I just wanted to make that comment and make sure that we understand it correctly and that we're in agreement with staff and the board on that.
Yeah, I think right now we want to keep them separate and if we have any issues like you're going to have it with the parking, I think whatever agreement will come up, I think will show up between 700 and 800. But I think we should keep them, address them separately right now. Okay. Mr. Mandel, I think in respect to what you're talking on the traffic study, I think if I catch what Mazer is saying, that the traffic that is generated now by Oak distributors is almost what they propose for UPS. There's UPS would be a little bit higher, but not quite as high. If I caught that drift correctly.
Not exactly. Let's say, Oak Beverage leaves tomorrow, and those three, or the remaining square footage that's left in the 700 building, if that was to be reoccupied as another distribution center or a light industrial use, based on industry standards, where most of our traffic studies are based on IT, Institute of Transportation Engineers, trip generation data. If we reoccupy that site, not with UPS, but with the light industrial use, once Oak Beverage gets out, then we're going to be generating similar traffic volumes to as if UPS came in there. So the net difference, like I was mentioning, during the peak AM hour, UPS will generate a total of 125 cars coming in. If it was a generic light industrial, once Oak Beverage comes out, you're generating like 86 cars. So basically the same kind of volume. It's not what Oak Beverage is generating, it's what it could generate as a new user comes aboard. Also, I'll just spend one more second. In the PM, because of the peaking characters of UPS during the critical peak highway hour along 303, UPS, in fact, during that hour will generate less traffic than a generic light industrial development if that came back once Oak Beverage came in.
Okay. Mr. Mandel, you understand?
Yeah, you answered my question. I just wanted to know the original traffic study they did with Amazon, they got a certain number of vehicles. I wanted to know, did they then add the number of trips that Amazon made onto those totals to do the UPS study, which you said, yes, they did. So that answered my question fully. Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, do we want to let them move on to preliminary so they can go to the other boards, or is there information that you want to get before they move on?
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Andrews here. I'd like to address, I just read over a letter that was in the package from Christine Lee. And I just want to see if anybody could address this. She's complaining about loud automobile type racing cars starting up early in the morning. And I noticed at 700, you have this motor sports, looks like racing cars there. I was wondering if anybody could address that and why these guys are revving their engines at 9 o'clock in the morning. I know the nearest resident is about 440 some odd feet away, but I looked it up, and the decibels of a racing car of this nature far exceed the normal noise ordinance that Orangetown has, which is a racing car decibel is about 140 decibels. And I believe the Orangetown noise ordinance is no more than, I think it was like 90 or 98 decibels.
Yes, Mr. Andrews, I think we can definitely address that. Ms. Vasquez can give you an update on what management has done since they received that complaint passed along. My understanding, and I've talked to Mr. Picola about this, is that there was a visit by the town back in September when the first complaint was made, and no violation was warranted at the time. But I'd like Ms. Vasquez just to give a little more color on the conversation that management had with that tenant, if you don't mind, Nicole.
That's fine. Thank you.
Sure. So we did have our property manager stop by once we received Christine Lee's email. We shared with the tenant that we received that complaint and just asked if the tenant can, be cognizant of the hours that they do this kind of testing that they do, or whatever it is that they do to make the noise. And he did mention that the town stopped by and that a violation wasn't issued, but we certainly made him aware that we received the complaint.
Okay, thank you. I'm glad you addressed the situation. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you. What does the board want to do with this? You want to give them preliminary? Let them move on? Mr. Dell?
Thank you, sir. In some ways, I wouldn't mind letting him go on to going on, but I would like to get the feeling of how the board, whether they agree or disagree that we should get an independent study on this, because I would not feel comfortable going anywhere with this without that extra pair of eyes due to the complexity of the traffic report.
Well, what if we look at the,
Order, up to you.
okay, what if we looked at the independent traffic study we had done for Amazon? I don't know, what's the board's feeling? Mr. Dell?
I think you should get, this is a lot more data. I think you should get a look at it. I think my view is we would not be doing our due diligence in this case. We've asked for these type of reports on situations that had even less potential impact on the community. I think we should definitely take a look at it and have an independent review. That's all. Thank you, sir.
All right. Thank you. I'm going to pull.
If I could say something, I feel the exact opposite. I think we had this talk before. I think it was about Amazon, possibly, I'm not sure. Where I think a study done now, when things aren't really at the peak they were over a year ago, may not give us true numbers. I think what they did of using numbers from 2019 and then adding in the UPS and Amazon numbers is probably the best study we're going to get. I think a study we get with the current flow is not going to be a true measure of what might happen a year or so from now, when hopefully this pandemic is past us.
Mr. Sweeney, I want to make it clear, I just said a review of the traffic study, that's all. I didn't say new data. But okay.
Let me poll the board and see what they want to do. All right. Mr. Young, do you want another review on the study?
For consistency's sake, I think I agree with Mr. Dell and Mr. McCrory on the traffic study and also the oil water separators.
Oh. Okay, so are you looking for an additional review of the traffic study?
Yes, I am.
Okay, thank you.
Right,
Okay.
so, Mr. Chairman, to clarify, the board had approved an independent consulting firm to review the previous traffic studies and report back to the board. I think that is what Mr. Dell is referring to.
Correct. Well, that's what I said. Do we want to go back and look at we had a separate traffic consultant look at the traffic study from Amazon. Do we want to have them, we want to use their report, or do we want to have them look at this report?
I believe what, and Mr. Dell, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe what Mr. Dell is saying is that now there's new numbers in addition to that previous report.
Well, that is correct. I think we should take a look at it. That's all. Thank you.
Okay. All right, so how does the board feel then? Okay, Mr. Young is interested in an additional report. Mr. Mandel?
Yeah, I concur with Mr. Dell. A review of the figures that were presented, similar to what we did with Amazon, would be fine by me.
Okay, thank you. And Mr. Sweeney, you always feel, okay, Mr. Dunn. Mr. Andrews?
I feel the same as Mr. Sweeney. In lieu of the situation and ongoing COVID situation, I think those numbers would be skewed pretty much. If they use the Amazon report along with this report, as which they said, as what I believe they said, that's good enough for me.
Okay, thank you. Mr. McCrory?
Yeah, I agree. And just to clarify, we're looking for a traffic consultant to look at the current report. You know, we're not looking for a new traffic study. So I agree with that. Because, you know, it seemed like everybody had a few questions about the numbers, you know, and when UPS and Amazon all moving into this one area, it'd be smart to get an outside look at these reports, you know, just for us and the neighbors as well. So I agree with that. And I'd also like to throw in that they haven't addressed the oil separator, which is an easy fix too, that I think they can agree to. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I think the consensus of the board is that we get, I don't know if my phraseology is going to be right, but if we get another study done on your report, just to review your report and get back to us to compare it with what you've done, and I think we'd be able to compare the report from Amazon and this one. I think, Ms. Slavin, you jumped up, so maybe I'm saying it wrong.
Right, so with the previous traffic studies that were presented, the board approved retaining AKRF to review and report back to the board. So if the board would like to have that done with the most recent reports, I think that is what you're looking for. Not another study.
No, I agree.
It's
No.
an independent consultant to review the information that was provided by the applicant and report back to the board their findings. Maybe they're gonna want additional information, maybe they'll want clarification on the numbers that the board has questioned. Maybe they'll come back and say, the applicant's 100% correct, it looks great. Much like our drainage engineer, who is an independent consultant, this would be the same thing.
Okay. And I think that's exactly what the board wants, the majority of the board members want.
Hey, excuse me, Mr. Chairman, may I just make one comment, please?
Sure.
Of course, as the applicant, we understand why the board is requesting that, and we know the escrow account that we fund, of course, would properly be charged for that. We would ask the board with that understanding to consider making that a condition of preliminary, so we can go on to the other two boards that we need to get to and go through the zoning board review for performance standard and Akabor, knowing, again, we're going to have to come back to you for a final either way. It would just keep the process moving forward as Onyx is working very hard, as you can see, to make sure these buildings are filled with appropriate tenants and generating jobs and business for the town. So we'd ask the board to consider that with the understanding that that consultant, who I know very well, and of course we have no objection to, would be a condition of that preliminary. So we'd ask your consideration of that request this evening. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay. With that in consideration, with them getting a review done on their traffic study and have a traffic consultant report back to us in respect to their traffic study, and also incorporating oil separators in their parking lots, is the board amiable with giving them, letting them move on with a preliminary? Okay, I got a thumbs up from Mr. Dell. That's the one I was concerned with. Okay, do I have a motion for preliminary with conditions?
Young, motion for preliminary with conditions.
Okay, Mr. Young.
Mr. Chairman, you want to do secret first?
Yes, well, I just wanted to see where the board was going, Rick. Okay,
Mr. Chairman?
yes.
Mr. Dell, when I had brought up about the air quality within the building itself, I mentioned they had an HVA system that would change the air every hour. Now, Mr. Dell brought up the idea, and I think we did it with Amazon, that the exhaust should go through a scrubber or something similar to that, because we're talking about the environment itself and the surrounding area. I think that should also be added as a condition along with the oil water separator.
I was going to add that in when we came to that.
Okay.
From an engineering perspective, I'm not sure if that's required from a technical perspective. So, and that, there's a very expensive HVAC system they're already putting in as a condition of their lease. So I would ask that you might consider letting us come back to you for that on final, so we can do a little more research on whether it's warranted.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so, okay, I kind of got where we're going now. Okay. Motion for lead agent.
Motion for lead agency, Mr. Mandel.
Mr. Mandel, motion for lead agent. Do I have a second?
Mr. Andrews seconds.
Mr. Andrews seconds. All in favor? Aye. Any opposition? No opposition, fine. Motion for neg deck.
Motion for neg deck, Mr. Mandel.
Mr. Mandel, motion for neg deck. Do I have a second?
Andrews seconds.
Mr. Andrews second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? No opposition. Okay. A motion for final with conditions. Mr. Mandel. Okay.
Motion for final with
I
conditions.
don't think you want final.
Not final. Mr. Seth jumped up and down. Okay, preliminary,
Motion for preliminary with conditions.
yes. Bite my tongue over here. Okay, the first is that the board wants the existing traffic study to be reviewed and to get back with us to see if, Ms. Slavin, can you give the verbiage on how we're gonna say that?
Well, the first thing I want to add is the next stop for the applicant is the Zoning Board of Appeals for performance standards review. So a number of the concerns that the planning board members have brought up should be addressed by the zoning board as part of performance standards review. So my recommendation to the board would be is you can make them conditions of your preliminary approval and highlight them in a recommendation to the ZBA so that they understand where the planning board concerns. Because again, the ZBA's role is the performance standards review, which will address air quality, traffic control, and the oil water separator. All of that is part of the function of their business and how it affects performance standards. So I think you want to be clear in what your concerns are when you make your determination.
Okay, so if we give them preliminary and then ask the ZBA saying that state to the ZBA that the planning board is concerned with the traffic analysis. We are concerned with the air quality, and we are also concerned with the oil separators, and we wish them to look into it for any remediation that is necessary.
Right, and again, I'll defer to Mr. Bacola as the legal aspects of saying that, but again, the zoning board's role in the review of this will be performance standards review, and those are all
Right, I
part of
understand.
performance standards.
Okay, well, so how should we address this? Rick? Don't smile, say something.
I'm not
It's
really,
good that we're all smiling at 10:48 p.m. So
I know.
I guess, I have no objection to what Ms. Slavin said, just stating that the planning board has concerns about those specific matters and asking the ZBA to consider them. Is it, Ms. Slavin, that was what you thought was appropriate?
that's correct, and they did that as well as part of their Amazon review, because when Amazon made application to occupy 200 and 400, they did that originally just to occupy the existing buildings. So when they made that application, they were referred to the ZBA for performance standards review, at which time the ZBA reviewed their operations and their traffic study. And I believe Seth made that presentation to the ZBA, if I recall. Because at that time, they had not originally indicated any exterior changes to the building, no site changes. So it didn't require planning board review. So they had to go to ZBA. They came in after that, a few months later, wanting to do the canopy, which ended up being an enclosed addition for the loading. So their performance standards and their operations had been reviewed before it came to planning. In this case, in order for UPS to move in, they have to do the site changes to make it work. So the first stop had to be planning board. But as a condition of all of these approvals, they have to still go for the performance standards review. So you have an opportunity as the planning board to state these when they go for their performance standards.
Yeah, and to that end, there's no reason why both boards can't get the same report and rely upon it for different reasons. Correct?
That's correct. I mean, that from where I sit, I think that it would make sense that the independent review is done as part of the performance standards review.
And then it comes back to the planning board as part of that.
Right.
Yeah, that
Because
makes-
then The independent consultant would have done the review and reported to the ZBA their findings as part of performance standards. Rick's looking at me. Is that good, Rick? Am I explaining this properly? I think I am.
I think you are. I think for the air quality, that makes sense. I think for traffic, though, the planning board is really the board with the appropriate board. I don't know what the ZBA could rule upon for the traffic, but it makes sense for the ZBA to have the traffic report as well.
And they did. As part of Amazon, they reviewed that. That was a significant part of their review. The hours of operation, the volume of operation, all of that was part of the performance standards review for Amazon.
Okay, so I think that's the road forward. I think we've talked about it enough. So the board just mentions that they're concerned about those issues, and I don't know if it's appropriate to say they direct the ZBA to consider them. But I
don't know. That's why I asked for the legal. I don't know that they can direct them, but
yeah, I don't think so.
Review recommendations with however you want to.
Okay, let me see what Mr. Dell has to say, and then we'll move on. Mr. Dell.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I was not overly happy with what the gave us. We obviously had to work at it. I think what we should do is have a definite decision that we put in. They do the traffic study and they do the oil separators, and then we ask them to look at the air quality. But if we don't have that in part of our decision, it's almost as if we're asking them to be the planning board and giving away the area we normally look at. I think we should definitely have that as part of our decision, and then let the ZBA deal with what they have to do. But if we just say, hey, could you maybe look at this and consider this? I don't think that's a good way to go for either ourselves or the town. Make it a firm decision.
Okay, let me just say something. The applicant is saying that UPS is putting in a ventilation system that is supposedly what they do in all their warehouses. So is that good enough? We don't know. We should ask to see what it is. Okay?
Yes, okay. Do we want to see it? Or even if that went to the ZBA, you know, if you want to let them take over that responsibility, I think we should look at it, but I think we should definitely have a decision that they're going to give us a review of the traffic study and put in the oil separators and have that be items in our decision. Otherwise, you know, they may or may not go along with us. And I don't think that's a good place for us to be.
If the ZBA doesn't address it like they should, is it possible that when the applicant comes back to us, we could address it at that time?
I don't think so. I think you might be changing his ZBA decision. But the thing is that we've always done in the past, we give our decisions, and this going this way for forever. You know, we give them our decisions, and then I've talked to members over the years, and they've all said they want to get direction from us, not an if come maybe. We come in and we say, we want oil separators, we want this traffic study, then they've got something to work with. But until we do that, if we go to them saying, what do you guys think we should do? I think we'll go down a very, very slippery slope.
Okay, can I step in? We had a motion here for preliminary conditions. Now we have like a conversation and a filibuster going on. Can we read the conditions and then vote? And you can vote yes or no, but I think we need to move on.
Well, we're trying to figure out what the conditions are, Mr. Swain.
We didn't even read in the conditions from the experts yet. We didn't even get through those yet.
Well, I was trying to get these other things done first, and then, okay, let me do the consultant's reports. Okay. Jane Slavin, November 9th, has 5 items. Department of Environmental Management and Engineering, November 10th, 6 items. Booker Engineering, November 10th, have no comments. Jane Slavin, October 21st, 6 comments. Department of Environmental Management and Engineering, October 27th, 10 comments. Rockland County Planning, September 22nd, 1. Rockland County Drainage Agency, October 5th, their letter. Rockland County Sewer District Number 1, October 26th, 2 comments. And then we have a letter from Kristen Lee, and then Orangetown Planning Board being lead agent. Okay. Also, we want to add in what? The review of the traffic study, an independent review of the traffic study. And also, we want a review of putting in installation of oil separators.
We want oil separators.
Okay, we want installation of oil separators. And also, we want a review of the air filtration system. Everybody happy with that? Anything else? Okay, do I get a second? Mr. McCory, seconds. Okay, all in favor? Aye. Any opposition to that? None. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, and well, you can't throw anything at me because I'm not in the same room as you.
No, but we're not gonna do that anyway.
But the 800 application is a separate application number.
Yes.
So I'd respectfully request that the board also consider preliminary and referral out on 800 as well, which remember is just the small parking easement area in the existing parking lot adjacent to 700.
Okay, I think the only concern is that the board does not know what the potential use could be. I don't know how that would be resolved.
Oh, be a permitted, either a permitted use, and the parking requirements would have to meet or not meet the requirements depending on what the use is in the LI zone. That shouldn't, in my opinion, that shouldn't impact your ability to consider approval of the parking easement area based on the review of the documents with Mr. Piccola that I did earlier this week.
And Mr. Chairman, I would agree with that. I mean, 800 is only being reviewed for the parking. So I think it should be voted on.
Okay. Okay, let me go through the consultant's reports then. Okay, motion for lead agent.
Motion for lead agency.
Mr. Mandel says motion for lead agent. Do I have a second?
Andrew seconds.
Mr. Andrews, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? None. Okay. Motion for neg deck.
Motion for neg deck, Mr. Mandel.
Mandel, second by.
Seconds.
Okay, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? None. Okay. Motion for preliminary with conditions. Conditions are Jane Slavin, November 9th, 5. Department of Environmental Management and Engineering dated November 10th, 6. Booker Engineering, November 10th. No comment. Jane Slavin, October 21st, 8. Department of Environmental Management and Engineering, October 27th, 10. Rockland County Planning, September 22nd, 1 item. Rockland County Drainage Agency, October 5th, just a letter. Rockland County Sewer District Number 1, October 26th, 2 items. And October 28th, Orangetown ZBA allowing planning board to be lead agent. October 28th, Rockland County Highway Department, Orangetown Planning Board lead agent. October 28th. Orangetown ZBA, no further correspondence. October 28th, County Highway, no comment. And then consultants, a letter from SESA, consultants report to, I guess they're both the same, which is dated October 30th. Cheryl, is there anything else?
That's it.
Okay, yes, Mr. Dell. Thank you, Cheryl.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just as a way of just keeping ourselves protected, should we not say that the site considerations were part of the review for 700 Bradley Hill? Because otherwise it looks like we didn't look at the site if you just read the record. We did.
Okay, very good. Cheryl, you have that?
Bob, can you repeat that, please?
Yes. The site, site specifics were reviewed as part of the 700 Bradley Hill Road site improvement. That's all. It's just to show that we did review it. Because if that's not in the record, someone could say you passed it without even looking at it. And we don't want to go there. That's all.
All right.
Andrew seconds.
Andrew seconds. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None. Okay. Okay, that's it.
Thank you very much, all of you. Everyone stay safe. Have a safe Thanksgiving. And
Yes,
we'll
you
see
too.
soon.
Thank you very much.
Keep those parties small.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Yes, happy Thanksgiving, everyone. I don't think we don't have anything else, do we?
Cheryl, do we have anything?
October 28th decisions.
Yes.
Motion to approve.
Who was that? Mr. Mandel?
Yes.
Mr. Mandel makes a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Andrew seconds.
Mr. Andrews seconds. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None. All right.
Motion
Listen,
to adjourn.
I'm not
Happy
done.
Thanksgiving, everybody.
Everybody eat a lot of turkey and enjoy yourselves. All right? Be good, be safe. Thank you.
You.